pop in the chat, and hopefully myself or one of the moderators can jump in there and help you out a little bit. So, good evening to everybody. Timothy, Attack, Perez, Daniel, all y'all, and we're going to get started. So I'm going to jump in there and see.
It usually happens later at night.
Hello, everybody.
Cough syrup kicks in.
Hello.
How are y'all doing?
Hey, Ref.
Much better now.
Much better now? Wow, that's feels like pressure being put on already. Is that pressure? Feels like pressure.
All kinds of pressure. All kinds.
Well, now that you're here.
I don't work well under pressure. I don't know if y'all know that. It's if I can't just like leave my botany bay out for 7 hours and not get hit, I freak out. So
much pressure.
So much pressure.
Dun, 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 dun.
They told me I wasn't allowed to curse.
Yeah, we don't necessarily. There's nothing wrong with cussing. Just don't do it on YouTube so that it doesn't ruin my whole livelihood. That'd be great, just for this brief 7-hour teaching class. That's it. As long as we can hold it to that little bit of refrain, we'll be good. Sound great?
Hey, Deuce, are you recording any of this?
Yeah, it's streaming on YouTube, so it'll be there afterwards.
Okay.
You can go back and watch it. For anybody who misses it now, hopefully everybody from the server is here. Something tells me that's not the case, but hopefully everybody from the server is here.
Everybody that looks good and matters is here.
Oh, wow. Then that's even better, honestly, because, if there's one thing I hate, it's uggos. And we can't have them on the Discord. Yeah, it's just not allowed.
Okay.
See, then there's me.
I'm the only uggo allowed. Okay, that's the rule. You can't be more attractive than Rev Deuce. Just don't want to.
It looks like everybody
you're gonna
on
have
our
to
server who is legitimately active enough is in the channel.
Well, good. So what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and start with the questions that y'all dropped, and then we can, if there's anything besides that, or if you have anything that you need to say, just, poke somebody, essentially. Just grab in the chat, because I'm going to be at the top working my way down. I'm going to try to move through them quickly, but you also should have push to talk on. So if y'all need to just interrupt, just, very politely say, hey, got a question real quick. So I'll answer anything that I can. And if I don't know, well, I'll just be honest and be like, yo, I don't know. So fair to everybody? Good?
Good.
Works for me.
Sweet.
Yeah, that's great.
All right, let's start with the fillet fish. We're starting off strong. Can't even pronounce the names of the people in this chat. But asking about officer abilities when it comes to effectiveness in terms of like using Alexander Marcus and his 1600% when he's maxed, how that works on defense. Now, this is kind of starts us off strong into the confusingness that is Star Trek Fleet Command, because the game doesn't tell you exactly how it works in terms of the compounding of stats. So if you go into the officer, we'll pull up the stat on the video real quick, just so people who watch later can also see. But essentially, all these type of buffs work on the cumulative stats of the officer bonuses. So, for example, you look at Decius, when his 6% is a cumulative based on the attack, generally works the same way with officers. Now, those stats will go away after a battle ends. So if you've ever run morale and you notice for no reason that, you won, but then your ship blew up afterwards, that's because, officers like Bones and Kirk artificially inflated officer stats, which then artificially inflated the percentages of your ship, which gave you more hull, more shield, and then after the battle ends, all that disappears. All the bonuses you get in a battle go away. So if you had more bonuses than you actually had health, your ship blows up even though you win. And that's exactly how like Leslie works, if y'all caught my Leslie video, probably about 2 months ago. So, in a battle, those stats will build, and those officers will use those stats from that point, depending on the officer. But it's the total amount of a crew, but it will vary by officer. So it's going to be confusing. We have to take it by a name basis. And did that just confuse everybody or help everybody?
Yes. Helpful.
Correct. Yeah, it's that is the name of the game when it comes to Scopely. Like when any new officer comes out, one that I still have to test is like TOS Spock. Does he work for, every officer and all the things added up, or is he just that one ship? Does he work for all the turrets and everything? I still don't have TOS Spock, and not many people in the game do, because he's not somebody that a lot of people really focused on getting. Defensive officers really aren't that big of a deal, because the only real defense you have against a Hegtot is to shield your base. So it doesn't matter if you've got Bones and TOS Spock. Just doesn't really help that much. But let's jump on to the next one from A Bunch of Trees, which is a lively fellow. Have gotten to speak to him before. Planning on staying 28 to catch up on research before I push to 30. Is that a valid strategy? And is there a research I can skip to level more quickly? Is there critical research I should complete because you get impatient? Well, you will get impatient because the game is continually adding more and more in terms of research. I mean, when I started the game, there was 2 research trees. So having 5 now really changes up all the different things that you can focus on the variety of which you can go through. I would say the main ones that you want to focus on that you can get to early are all the efficiency researches. So like the pure titanium, the pure dilithium, that will help you save a lot of money later in the game, both in-game resources and in terms of, if you want to spend money. Because the more that you get to keep is the less packs you end up buying. And all those are going to start off in the station research tree. Now, you've also got several efficiency researches in like the territory tree, which if you're level 30 plus, you can start working on those efficiencies. But all those are incredibly important to go after because you look at like mine, which is a little bit behind what it should be. I've got a 54% bonus in the cost efficiency of titanium. That works towards the base cost, doesn't count any other type of reductions you have, but there aren't that many when it comes to efficiency. So that's a significant drop. And we've got a couple of calculators out there that you can use to see what that actually looks like with things like, LCARs and all these other great tools out there. But those are the main ones I'd say focus on. You look at other things, like station shield piercing, which I took mine up to 7. My next one costs 8 or 4 million dilithium. It does nothing. I mean, that individual ability is not going to make me that much stronger versus, a player 10, 15 levels above me. And that's 4 million dilithium that can go to something else. So really it's pinpointing on the researches like pure titanium, like pure dilithium, and then going through the tree of what it says you need and then upgrading those. So pick the efficiency types, and I'm just going to repeat that probably the rest of the night. You also have other ones like the Federation repair cost. That's for a little bit later in your playthrough, mid-high 30s. But that's also very important for lowering down repair costs of your certain ships. And if you ever plan on going into the 40s, those are going to be extremely important to focus on. Also, you have a couple more in the Galaxy and Outlaw trees that will work with that. You got, for example, in the Outlaw tree, you've got if you go all the way through it, you'll start seeing gas, crystal, and ore efficiency researches for building and research. Both of those are incredibly important. The research, probably more so. I don't think a lot of people realize how much research starts demanding your uncommons. And you complain about not having them now. Imagine paying 100% whole cost on, those resources. Which once again brings me back to territory and why that's so important, because you got the efficient research, efficient ship upgrades, and efficient construction, which all lower the amount of uncommons you do. So things to focus on, anything that says efficient in it, that should be your primary focus. What else we got? Any comments, questions on that one before we jump to the next one? And shout out to the YouTube chat. See y'all rolling around, and shout out server 179. How you doing, OG?
What level are you playing at?
Mine currently? My main is sitting at 39.
All right. I was just curious. You were mentioning levels.
Yeah, I have yet to go to 40. I even made a video about 3 months ago why I'm not going into the 40s at the moment. There's a few reasons. You do get some good events up there, but you stop getting 3-star for your events, which can be really problematic if you do still have researchers or ships to upgrade from the 3-star area. And just overall, the costs are still insane. Taking a Valdor to tier 3 is going to cost you several billion titanium. And just not a lot of people have that just laying around. So for that reason, I'm focusing on finishing and catching up my researches. And then I'll eventually go into the 40s. But right now, it's just not very pragmatic for me to do that. Now, if you are out there and you're wanting to know best way to do it, buy those efficiency researches and start flying through. Remember, packs increase in quality every 2 levels. So don't blow all your money on like 34 to make a rush to 40. You want to buy just enough to get to the next set and then stop and then get to that set and then do it. So, one mistake I've seen a lot of people make is they just dump. This is specifically for whales because most of you will never do this, but they'll go jump $4,000 at a time to, fly up levels. Well, it's actually much better to do just enough to get to where you want to go and then buy more if you're going to make purchases, because every 2 levels, those packs are going to get better and better and better to where, in the high 40s, you're getting billions of steel. Whereas at level 39, I think I get 2 billion steel on mine. So helps to level up first. All right, next up on it is from Doom Dude. Shall level up to 25? Instant answer, yes, because you want the Vidar. And you should get another chance to get the Vidar. Well, anytime Cosmic Cleanup comes around, you get a chance to earn BPs. And then with the event store coming up with this arc, you're going to want to get the Vidar. The dailies and everything will increase, yes, just slightly. Honestly, it's not that bad if you're working on your Voclus. The matchmaking with the researches and territory refinery, you don't really have to worry about territories yet because, like I said, you're 25. You can't really use that to its max efficiency until 30 anyway. But the plan for you is mainly ships and officers. A long time in the game, we talked how much strong bases were, and it's important to focus on bases. Honestly, not that critical anymore. It's all about ships, officers, and then repeat the research going into the ships and the officers. So that's still kind of the focus. So if you can get the Vidar, which is extremely important for your everyday grinding, and get that leveled up, that really sets you ahead of a lot of people. I don't even know how to pronounce this name, so I'm not even going to try. Just it's Captain T. What's the deal with Jayla? And Scopely forget about her. Inquiring minds gotta know. So when she was created, she had a problem, and she got shelved, and she's essentially been shelved since then, and probably won't get worked on again until they plan on bringing back an actual swarm type of event. I don't want to say arc, because that's not how the Franklin was originally set up. But until they really go through a hard focus on that, you probably won't see Jayla come to you. She'll just sit in the officer menu taunting you. Don't worry, though. Nobody has it. So it's not like you're missing out. No server in the game has Jayla. She's there just taunting everybody. Don't worry. It's fine.
Hey, actually, on that note with officers, there was what was his name? They released him for one of the battle passes, but he's yet to come out in the store.
Well, that could be several. Lorca is one. I don't remember if he was in the battle pass, but he was in the Discovery arc that has not come out. They do.
Do you mean Huron?
Oh, that's a good one.
No, I think
Huron was a
about
purchase.
Lacra.
Huron was a purchase and then one auction. I don't believe he was in a BP. Actually, I'm certain he wasn't in a battle pass. Lorca might be that one. Now, they'll tend to save certain officers so they can run those type of auctions later, because I know everybody in this chat and in the YouTube chat, they love auctions. Everybody loves auctions. They're amazing. So at the moment, I don't know of any plans to change that, because they're focusing on this arc and finishing out the original series, and they've got a bunch of stuff coming for that. That's great, but at the same time, this company does have a little bit of a reputation for shelving things and not fixing things, which I'm sure we'll talk about plenty of those later on. Next up is from Godfather of Soul. Nice name. Is there a good crew for Armadas on the Stella that does not rely on good Federation officers? Ooh, that's a tricky one. So the go-to for most Armadas, including the Stella, is Kirk Spock Khan. There are several others you can run. 6 of 10 is a fantastic Armada officer. Very, very good. That's about the only thing that 6 of 10 is good for, but an extremely good officer. And then 5 of 10 paired with 6, and you could even take that and pair that then with something like an Ash Tyler if you have somebody else running Giorgio or Nero. The key to the Kirk Spock Khan thing that makes it so good on the Stella is the Stella gets massive bonuses to its weapons in all the research that you do. And then it has a natural bonus against Eclipse Armadas, because if you remember that when you do the Stella research, the one that actually lets you unlock the Stella, the first thing that research does is give you a 300% firing bonus versus Eclipse. So basically you fire 3 times as much versus Eclipse hostiles than you do regular in a Stella. So your weapons are super upgraded, but now you got to make sure that your ship stays alive. So these shields being kept up by Kirk Spock help that. And then Khan making those shots into criticals. You now have 3 times as many shots against Eclipse. And then if you're turning those 3 times as many shots into all critical shots, you're talking of a minimum of about 170% increase in your damage, depending on how your research is. I think mine is like, 180 now? Let me see. 208 is actually my critical damage stock buffered now on all my ships due to research. So that is why it's so common. You can run a lot of other things, and the Stella will take advantage of that. Like I said, I mentioned guys like Ash Tyler or Decius. The key to cards like Decius is it requires you getting hit, and that's not necessarily something that you can rely on in a battle. But if you are running a group with a support ship, and by support ship, I mean you take your weakest player who's coming to the Armada and you load them up with, you could do Pike Moreau Gala, which is going to reduce the amount of critical that you take for everybody. You could do Giorgio and then Gorkon so that you can have Hull Breach and Burning. Remember, if the target is burning or has Hull Breach, everybody can take advantage of it. So if you got one person making the Armada burn, everybody with Ash Tyler benefits. Everybody gets the bonus. So you can do the support system if you don't want to use Federation. But the honest truth is the Kirk Spot Con is the best go-to if you can't get everybody to just sit down and fix everything. But it's just kind of Federation officers are basically OP in this game. And you just kind of have to learn to love it, sadly. Next up, Scion says, without having to rely on the refinery gods to build up uncommon resources, do you feel like the photon tokens and away missions will be a good source for those materials? Good source? Probably not. One of many other sources to help increase the amount you're getting? Yes. I don't really think anything's going to be a great, I just don't think that you're going to just turn over a new leaf and see them going, oh, cool. They're now giving me everything that I ever needed in, the photon tokens, which we still haven't even heard when they're actually going to implement that to the rest of the servers. It's still only on server 51. And then the away missions, which probably won't come to the end of the year anyway. So at the moment, events are still the number one way to get your uncommons. For example, like Cow going on right now, which is so important that you be doing the Cow event. And I realize that it can be difficult for some players. For me, it takes one hit. Literally one kill, I'm done with mine. I realize not everybody can do that. It's a grind for other players depending on your level, depending on what ships that you have. But in terms of what it gives you, it's one of the best events for picking your rewards, turning those in, and getting what you need. So pros and cons to everything. Milky Chan. Nice name. When territory capture first released, Scopely indicated that the services in each territory would change. Short, they want to know if that's going to happen. Eventually, yes. Currently, no. Do I have an ETA on that? I do not. Originally, they had planned to be doing that already. Other things came up, including the massive amounts of lag. So right now, territory capture is not focused on swapping through the different particle sets and how it's currently laid out. So for the moment, if there's somebody on server 44 that has a territory you want, don't worry about that territory changing. Go ahead and take it. And if they don't want you to take it, well, then you can have a nice little fun battle and enjoy the lag. Brass says, is there any reason behind why we aren't allowed to build a second Rialta? There's not a reason. It just, the Rialta is like one of 4 ships in the game that don't drop blueprints anywhere. I don't necessarily think there's a reason. In fact, if you accidentally scrap your Rialta and talk to customer support, they'll give you another one. But there's not really a reason for it. I do agree that having 5 Rialtas would be very useful for me if I was trying to defend a base raid or something like that. But not currently plans. I know I'm moving through some of the questions, so if anybody in voice has anything that I'm saying that they want to jump in on, just hit me up. Anything? We good?
Well, hey Rev, I don't want to ask questions so much as interject and
Yeah.
say that server 44 is the Rialta server. I mean, everybody gets great value and use out of the ship.
Good.
Do you see that in other servers? Because we use it a lot. The top line constantly fly that thing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the Rialta is something that I've pushed for over 2 years. I mean, it's the great equalizer ship because no matter if you're level 50 or level 20, you can't stop the fact that the game takes 6 seconds for a battle to commence and end. So you tie up that player for 6 seconds. No matter what, the Rialta will always be useful and useful by everybody. So in terms of the sacrificial lamb, it's amazing, and it's something that whether you're a whale or a free-to-play, it's a tactic that you can use and deploy effectively. And most servers know that and use that. Now, some people still like to go for the overwhelming power aspect, and they don't care if a Rialta's tying them up in territory capture or something. But in general, yeah, it's most servers use the Rialta liberally, especially when it comes to wartime. Base hits, base defense, territory capture, Rialta is incredibly valuable.
Yep, that's exactly what the question that I wanted to hear answered. Thank you.
Yeah, what I'm here for. Wreck-It Jake says, what's your favorite Trek series not in Star Trek Fleet Command, and what officers do you want from that series? So that would be Star Trek The Next Generation. Though I'll admit that Lower Decks has currently got my heart because I'm enjoying the heck out of watching season 1. But in terms of who I'd want from there, that would be obviously Picard, Riker. I would personally want LaForge and Data. Then it kind of gets kind of fuzzy because I would want to save Worf for DS9. I don't really like the whole we have 15 versions of one officer in the game thing. So I'd like DS9 Worf over the Next Generation Worf. Q is interesting, but probably way too OP to ever be a card, unless that's when they decide to introduce the legendary card where it's gold and it's better than everything and it costs $10,000, $20,000 to unlock it. It's basically a ship, but in a card. There's a lot of characters to go with. As long as it's not like Pulowski or something, I'm pretty happy because I feel like the Next Generation has a pretty strong cast. I think it'd be pretty hilarious to make like Wesley Crusher a common card that does almost nothing just for giggles. But in general, you could go almost anywhere and go right with the Next Generation crew.
Beverly Crusher.
Yeah, by the way, I love that. That's awesome. That's exactly what the Crusher card should do. Nothing.
Yeah, exactly. It should be the new Mbanga. It's exactly what it should be.
Would be the Shut Up Wesley.
Yes. It's the only thing he could be, honestly.
He could be a Rialta captain.
Definitely, Matt. Lower Decks is really good. I actually streamed Lower Decks for some of the people in my server the other day. We just watched a few episodes. We're talking about, getting Paramount Plus and all that other stuff because it just has a new thing. And we watched 6 episodes and 99% of us were laughing our guts off. There's obviously going to be people who don't enjoy it. But if you like Rick and Morty, you should like Lower Decks. I think it's a nice, fresh take. It's nice to not see it be the bridge officers over and over again. So,
hoping you plan on doing
it regularly that I am as in love with Beckett Mariner as it is possible for a functioning adult to be in love with the cartoon.
I mean, also you got to give a shout out to Lower Decks because since the animated series, they're the first ones to actually use the Caitians. They got a Caitian doctor. We got cat doctors. Can't get better than that. That's amazing. Cat doctor. 10 out of 10. All right, Worf, son of Moog, great name. Says, will we ever be able to trade or sell uncommon or rare resources? Unlikely. Sam says, will there be a way to send resources to other Alliance members? Unlikely. I did submit an inventory idea that they said they would review for their future roadmap, whether it be this year or next year, that involved an inventory system similar to how territory inventories are set up for alliances, where members could, put in things like raw gas and data and latinum, and then withdraw what they needed, deposit what they have extra. And, that's something that they're mulling over. But pure trading, highly unlikely, because then why would you buy packs? Nobody would buy them. What would be a good trap officer setup against a high-level North Star with a burning crew? High-level North Star? What are you, like level 22? What are you scared of from a North Star? For the North Star, the key to the North Star is basically a Horizon with no cargo capacity. It's super strong early on, but it's got a lot of hull health. So you can't really negate it hitting you with burning unless you can kill it in the first round. The only ships that are probably going to do that aren't just like ridiculously strong like an Enterprise is going to be like the Saladin, loaded out with maybe a Gorkon Kurla Harrison. They'll probably knock it out in the first shot. It'll never get a chance to actually get the burning going. But because it has a lot of hull health, a max North Star can usually go 1 or 2 rounds, even if they don't do a lot of damage. So that has been a replacement to the Rialta burn that some people have used. They also use Fortunates if it's small enough. Anything they can try to do to get to 2 rounds, but ultimately, you're just going to need a really big gun to kill something in 1 round. And there's not a lot of ships that have that. Only a few ships have got just a huge shot in that first round. Let's see. Jules says, Max Saladin with Yuki, Marcus, and Harrison is a beast. What's the best ship and crew to counter that? All right, so with the Saladin and Harrison, there's really no counter to it. The counter could be, because Yuki and Harrison are going to help you go a little bit longer. The only counter would be to hit harder. And hitting harder would be Gorkon Kurla Harrison if you get the criticals to pop in the first round. So you're relying on RNG. But if that RNG goes, you're going to get the critical bonus of hull breach, which you're going to get a critical. So you're going to get 180, 200% bonus there. Then Hull Breach has a 1.5 magnification in the background to criticals, increasing it there. And then Curla is going to give you an increase with Curla's ability to the kinetic of, depending on the level, 25, 35%. So you could talk about that kinetic going from like a, 600K shot to a 1.3 million critical or 1.4, depending on where your officers are, where your research is at, etc. That's really the only way. So now you're putting your hands in RNG, and that RNG has been able for Saladins to, take out tier 3 enterprises, and that same RNG has caused Saladins to lose to weaker ships because it never procced for them. So the key to beating that setup is simply beating it with a stronger power setup, if that works. And the question is, will it work? Haas says, can they improve the drop rate for the refinery? Man, that gets asked literally every episode, and believe it or not, they've done that consistently. They just don't do it in a way that you notice, because as you're leveling up, you need more and more and more. But for Server 44, which launched over a year after mine did, y'all have way better refinery rates than we had when the game came out. To the point, and I tell this story all the time. When my whales were level 20, so the big players on my server, it was impossible to pull an uncommon or a rare at level 20 with your refinery. You could not do it. It was not possible. Now it is. Now events pay out 3-4 times what they did in terms of uncommons that they did before. You look at the battle pass. The battle pass, just by uncommons, has basically doubled since last year. It doesn't feel like it because in a year y'all have all gotten bigger and stronger and need thousands and thousands more, but they are continually increasing it slowly. And the slow trickle is on purpose, and I know y'all can guess the reason, but it does increase. And I don't see there being drastic increases ever. It's always going to be marginal increases as time passes. And if you're somebody who's very patient with the game, like you started when 44 launched and you're still level 28 because you're just sitting there and taking your time, you probably don't notice it being that bad. It feels like it's getting better. But if you're already in the 30s or something, you're just struggling to get anything. That's a tough one. There's not really much you can do about it. It's just how they're going to run their game. But we'll just wait and see. Van Trump says, are you planning on revisiting your crewing videos in interceptors, explorers, and battleships? Yeah, I try to do it here and there. I've updated the videos once already. Need to continually do it. But with them bringing out new officers every month, it's really tough to stay on top of that one. But yeah, I am constantly trying to do that. It's always in the plan. Honky Kong wants to know if they're going to fix the lag in territory capture. Yes, they're working on that. But to remind y'all, it takes them a long time to do stuff. But that is their number one priority. They've had a lot of stuff going on for them. I'm not going to tell Scopely's dirty laundry or anything, but they got a lot on their plate at the moment through just various things they're doing. And TC essentially requires a complete rebuild of a lot of the Unity code. So it is something they're working on with the multitude of devices that have a problem. Will it ever be nice, polished, and fun? I honestly can't say, but I do know that it is something they're working on. And then the experience is different depending on your device and on your server. I've been in massive territory capture battles that were hundreds of ships. There was almost no lag at times. And then there's other times where it's absolutely god-awful. Server 43, for example, I have some of the worst lag, depending on when it was, that I've ever experienced in the game. Server 20 always feels like it just runs so smooth compared to others. And it'll have its instances with lag. But, just 3 weeks ago, we had a territory capture battle in a 3-star system between the top 2 alliances, well, the top 3 or 4 alliances, actually. One of those alliances is 2 billion in power. One of them is 1.5 billion. So we're talking about Valdors, Jellyfish, Enterprises, Discoveries, everything just all in the system. The really big ships blowing at each other, and it was fine. No lag at all. And all those alliances were fully participating. Then I've been in other ones where it was just a lag fest. So just bear in mind that your experience might suck, might not suck for everybody. And that's kind of the point of why it's so difficult for them, because it's not a universal, like, it sucks for 100% of the players. It's when it sucks for you, it's typically the worst it could possibly be, and then it just doesn't really suck that bad for others. Don't know why. That's a question for the boss people. Have you heard? Somebody saying something?
I was just gonna say, I think.
You think what?
It didn't work. The button didn't work.
Oh, well, what you got?
I think our server has some of the worst lag out there because, I mean, every single TC battle we have is just lagged up crazy.
Yeah, it's And maybe it's a newer server thing. Maybe older servers have got better bandwidth dedicated to it on the servers. I don't know. Maybe they're actually using different Amazon web servers for certain ones versus others. I don't know the reasoning. I just know that in general, it varies all over the place. So let's see. What order would you rank the grade 4 epic ships? Are you talking about all of them, fillet fish? I'll do it by sections. I would probably go with the Romulans being the best overall. The Valdor is arguably the best of the starters. The Kelvin can hit really hard, but it's made out of paper mache. The Katinga is a super expensive battleship. It looks great. It's good at doing what it does. It's slow, lumbering, the same problem all battleships have. I mean, it's okay. Like I said, it's kind of like right there with the Kelvin, but the Valdor would be the best. The Pilum, to me, is the best after that, followed by the Coronar, and then the Newton. Newton, once again, has the same problem every battleship has. They're slow as crap, and they just don't provide as much punch as you would think. Like, to me, a battleship, if you were just saying tier 7 versus tier 7, the battleship should be the strongest thing because it's a battleship. Makes sense of why it's more expensive to repair and usually slightly more expensive to build because battleship, but that's not really how it works. They just end up being really slow and typically not as good as others. The exception to that will be in the epics. Then that would be the Tribune, is by far the best of the 4-star epics. The main reason being its special ability, which when you have burning, lets you have more shots. I mean, the Tribune can start shooting stupid high number of shots where, because it's +1 to each weapon for the round if burning is active. So you're talking about this thing hitting you double-digit times in a round. And granted, getting to that mark, getting level 50 and getting those ships is going to cost you enough money to buy me a house. But if you want to do it, man, you will be king of the hill. Then following that would be the Hegta. And then not even like third place, like literally 70th place is the Enterprise A. It is terrible. It's bad. It's awful. Its special ability is basically like the D4, but not as good because you're talking about an epic 4-star ship. It is a god-awful ship, but it looks pretty. Looks great. If they would have just gave it the same ability as the 3-star Enterprise, it would be way better. Because they didn't and they gave it a really weak damage boost, it's pretty pitiful.
I think you missed a question above that.
Let's see. I see what
Very
about the Vulcan
important.
race, but I'm trying to jump because we've got 200 questions and I don't want it to be 3 hours. We can kind of get to the fun questions a little bit later, but I want to get to all the game questions that I can. Will the Scopely ever add a way to convert common to uncommon? No, don't see that ever happening. They removed the Latinum bypass on uncommon. That would have had to been here in beta because it was never here for the live launch. If that was in beta, probably. But you're talking about a lot of things were different back in the beta. Way different. Is Scopely ever going to remove the basic transwarp cell from the rewards of the antique refinery? No. That's going to stay the same with the RG that it has. No discussion I've ever seen of that changing. Is there any chance Scopely adds a new diplomacy tag? That has been requested to not have a friendly, to kind of have like a neutral, like a yellow or something like that. That's been shot up, and we'll see if they ended up adding that. But at the moment, that's not something on the up-and-coming list. I mean, on the up-and-coming list, you've got things like, I don't want to do too many leaks, I guess, but you've got like some skin options coming that a lot of people have already seen or heard me talk about. You've got, transporter pattern changes coming. Don't have necessarily straight dates on all those, but all those are relatively soon. So a lot of that honestly is more important to me than a new diplomacy tag, especially transporter pattern updates, because I know a lot of people need some better cards in that store. But we'll just have to wait and see what that looks like. Do I truly consider Star Trek Fleet Command a war game? While there's obviously combat for PvP and station raids, there's no real victory conditions. People just keep on playing and playing. So to me personally, I don't consider this as much as a war game as a role-playing game to get to the point of building a top-tier faction ship like the Enterprise A. Don't build the Enterprise A unless you just like to collect ships. There is no server winner, thus I firmly believe current PvP implementation is poor at best. I also firmly believe that the row of some sort is needed, as is just about any PvP results in inconveniences to players. So why frustrate the heck out of them? Add some kind of victory conditions. So yes, it's 100% a PvP game. It's 100% a war game. Anybody who's served in the military knows you spend 95 to 99% of your time sitting on your butt doing absolutely nothing to do with actually fighting stuff. I mean, yeah, most of any war game is going to be resource gathering, intel, forming alliances. And most of those games like this are in the same regard. And especially mobile gaming, this is really how it is for all these style war games. As far as the inconveniencing players, well, I mean, it's literally in the header of the game. And I bring that up all the time. If you don't want to play like that, that's fine. But like literally the first line when it talks about the game is conquering the galaxy and dominating your opponents and taking ships and shooting people. That's the whole point of the game. I mean, that's why they created it. Now, that creation is to drive one thing, which is obviously you got to be big and bad. Well, how do you get big and bad quick? Swipe that good old credit card. So yeah, it's not made to be Farmville. You can play it that way. You can play it PvE. You can play it where you focus on the missions because there literally are over 1,000 missions in the game, and I love that. But that's not the main focus of the game. The focus of the game is, I mean, that's why there is a power destroyed leaderboard and a resources rated leaderboard. And they've experimented with doing cross-server competitions that involve things like raiding and PvP. And, sure, not everybody wants a hardcore PvP experience, and I don't either. Like, I don't want 24/7 of my gameplay to be just me repairing ships because I went and blew up an Enterprise again. But at the same time, that is the point of getting it. Why do you get a big, strong ship? So that you can fight other people with it. I mean, most people don't get it just to look at. They don't get their Enterprise and keep it at tier 1. They want to get to tier 9 so they can be stronger than the other Enterprise. So, yeah, it is a war game, but at the same time, it's not one that's a constant. Everything you do is focused on the next battle. It's the resource gathering and the experience of the game and all the other aspects. They try to be well-rounded. I'm not saying they execute that very well because I don't think they do, but it is definitely intended to be a war game with add-ons such as PvE and all that fun stuff. Anyway, long-winded answer. Dragus says, how can I, as a minimum paying player, ever get enough 3-star Explorer parts to upgrade my Vocalus? Easy answer. Latinum. Use Latinum for ship parts and commons that you might need. That's the main use for Latinum for me. The other use for Latinum would be to buy speed-ups if I need them, but I typically save up a lot of speed-ups. That's one of the reasons that I'm behind on my research is because I don't use my speed ups enough to speed up my research, and they kind of fall behind. As I've got one going right now that's 2 days, 12 hours that I really should just speed up and start another one, but I'm really bad about just saving up speed ups. But that's what you should use Latinum on: ship parts, commons, and speed ups. That's the way to do it. All right, it says Haas says ask Scopa to fix the refinery. Yeah, I mean, what you want me to tell you, boss? It improves. It just doesn't improve to the amount you want it to improve or that I want it to improve. I want it to be way better than it is. Hell, let me go. I'm 2 hours away. I was going to do a refinery pool for y'all now so y'all can see how terrible it is. But y'all already know how bad it is. We'll do an isogen pool just for the giggles of it. Here you go. 7,000 ISO emulsion. All right, what's the best common grade 4-star ship and why? One doesn't exist. So the answer would be none. Now, there were 4-star common ships in the game in the beta, and some of those, well, not even some of them, they are still there. The models are still in the game. They're just not being used. So will those ever come out? I don't know. Things like the Orion War Barge, the Vulcan warship, the Tunakapacapocalypse, whatever it's called. Can't ever pronounce Vulcan names. The Shran, which was another Andorian, basically the Kumari on steroids, a much bigger version of it. All those are in the game, just kind of waiting to be used. At the moment, there are no 4-star commons, and I don't know if they ever will put those in. But they have options, so we'll wait and see. Any quick comments before I move on to the next one? So like I said, we got a lot of these. So I'm trying to fly through as fast as I can. Nope. Cool. All right. What's the fastest way getting a second faction? By dual faction grinding from the very start. I tell people to start that at level 15 or 16 if you can. If you go single faction and you've got 2 in the hole, honestly, it just comes down to having missions saved up and using missions to quick speed out of the hole and then hitting lots and lots of traders. Remember, traders give you the best bang for your buck on faction rep. So it's a grind no matter what. Even the whales who want to grind to 1 billion faction locks so that they can get their level 50 ship, everybody's got to grind. So, if you ever get really angry at the whales because they spend a lot of money, remember that if they've got a tribune or something, they had to actually go through the grinding process to get there. And if it was hard getting to 10 million, imagine how hard it is getting to 1 billion. It's a pain in the keister. Wow, another refinery question. I'm shocked. I'm going to skip it just because we've done refinery several times now, but I'm with y'all. The refinery's terrible. I'm cool with that. Is Crash useful as an epic officer? No. Basically useful as a just simply being an epic card. If you check out the officer tool that we have put out, shout out Stewie Doo, who's the main code monkey on that one. He has really good stats for, bearing underneath and boosting what you're doing for your 300%. But as an officer, no, he's not very good. 6 of 10, very good on Armadas. So the exact opposite. Crass, not really that good. 6 of 10, very good for a specific purpose. I have enough crystal to upgrade my Bortus to tier 8 or Gladius to tier 4. What should I pick? Me, I'd go with the Gladius. The Bortus to tier 7 is still strong enough to fly through any dailies. Even if you're level 39, a Bortus would do your dailies for you in terms of hitting explorers. So I would do on the Gladius. Gladius is also a really good PvE grinder because if you notice, its special ability is for PvE grinding. It's also going to be your best PvP ship because the Bortus is slow. Sexy, but slow. Very, very slow. Why my Klingons get so disrespected? Like, all the good stuff is slow, and all the good Klingon ships are hideous, like the Hegta and the D4. They're all disgusting looking. Next up is the D3 worth getting. D3 for me is worth building at level 34 just so you can scrap it. That's when the D3 is worth getting. But that's me. Next up, server merges. Server 44 is not getting merged, if that's what you're asking, Cobra. Server merges happen to servers that they qualify as dead, which means you've got less than a couple hundred active players, essentially. So y'all, just by the fact that y'all have got currently, I think just in the voice chat, we've got like over 70 or 80 people. Yeah, y'all aren't dead. If 80 people from a server attend a random Q&A from a content creator to answer questions, y'all are way alive. So no server merge for you. No server merge for you. I don't have enough crystal or gas. What do? Eat some Taco Bell and be patient. Make sure you do all your events. I don't know what else to say. There's not happy answers for everything, which makes me feel bad that there's not happy answers. Like I said, the uncommons are a grind for everybody. I'm completely out of uncommon gas. I want to scrap Mayflower so I can do my jelly more and more, but I can't afford to do that. I just, I'm working on saving up gas now. I think I'm back up to something like 400 or 500 uncommon gas. I need several thousand to max another Mayflower and scrap it. That's just, welcome to the grind of the game. One of the grindiest games I've ever played in my life. Hands down. Like, no contest. Extremely grindy game. Next.
Well, hey, thanks for saying that. I mean,
yeah.
I
mean, it's a stupid grindy game. Like, I still love the game, don't get me wrong, but it is stupid grindy. I mean, the amount of time that you have to spend in this game to progress is, if I didn't love Star Trek, I'll be honest, I wouldn't do it. But I do love Star Trek, and I do love the game at its core, even if there's a lot of things about it I don't like. So I'm happy to be here, happy to make content, happy to spend my Sunday night hanging out with people that I've never met, but have got some really hilarious names. But yeah, it's hella grindy. And keep in mind that I'm a old school RPGer. Now, a lot of y'all are probably older than me because I'm 31, but like, I grew up playing hardcore RTS games and RPGs. So like, I'm used to throwing 100 hours into a campaign on Civilization or thousands of hours in an MMO like Rift. And this game is still the grindiest game I've ever played. So it just is what it is.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's super cool to hear somebody else say it because we all feel it.
Yeah, I mean, it's oof. Man. Even the events. I mean, if you get military supremacy and your ships aren't decent level, like for example, if you're dual grinding, and let's say that your Bortus is super leveled, but your Saladin isn't, and you get the military supremacy for that federation, but if you didn't have that second faction to make it easy to grind, you grinding through your military supremacy at level 28 is almost impossible. It takes hours. The whole point of military supremacy is to make you get your stuff stronger, but at the same time, if you don't have something already strong, you kind of get bit in the butt. So yeah, the grind is annoyingly intentional. How do you get people to follow directions when posting to a channel set up for questions for you? Well, they usually don't, which is why there's only 80 people from server 44 here. Yeah, so sad day. Usually there's like a 100-member requirement, but it's terrible. Dragon says a lot of your videos you talk about skipping interceptors. Are there any interceptors that you recommend getting? Interceptors are great for one purpose. If you are heavily involved in PvP, interceptors are amazing. The D4, an amazing ship for PvP. It's fast. Not many people can catch it, which means that because you can't really catch it, you can load it out for specific purposes. A D4 specifically loaded out will wipe Enterprises off the map. Marcus Merrick Krell, if you got Merrick and Krell maxed or tier 4, will just eat Enterprises all day long. But if you're not doing PvP, Interceptors are typically the weakest when it comes to PvE grinding. The Saladin could be an exception because it's stupid OP. The Interceptors can be weak in base cracking because they don't have a lot of hull health naturally. They usually have the weakest hull health of all the ships, especially since they did the the health upgrade to the attack change back in 2019. They're great for PvP, but in general usage, a lot of times you want to skip them. And the other problem is they take uncommon crystal, which you need for literally all your miners. You would think a USS Antares, with it being a Federation miner, would need uncommon gas. No, it needs uncommon crystal, just like the Horizon, just like the Cavort, just like literally every miner in the game. So there's a reason that you might want to think about skipping them, unless you just do a crap ton of PvP, where then Interceptors tend to be kinetic heavy and kinetic weapons tend to be more DPS heavy. So they usually have a much better attack ratio, so you can do a lot better damage in PvP. And they're fast. Interceptors are typically fast. Is getting the Kelvin too expensive to get and maintain? That's a very relative question. I will say that they just cut the repair cost. It's still expensive. Really relative question. What is expensive to you? Because I'm not going up there, with that being as one of my reasons. At the same time, I'm sitting on 770 million tritanium, and that's not enough for me to do a lot. That's not enough for me to take my ISS Jelly to tier 4. So cost is a relative thing. If you do a ton of raiding and you can afford to operate them, sure. I don't raid as much as I should every day. I know, sad, but Pirates got to make videos, so video time cuts into that. Craig, I'm not older than you, Craig. I see you in the YouTube chat, though. Thank you for being here. Will I be making more 40 Ops videos? Yeah, I will. The reason I don't make a ton of Ops 40 Plus is because most of the people who follow the channel aren't there. And I've chosen to not go there for cost. But, I mean, I do have literally hundreds of, whales and level 40 plus that I work with. There is a couple of free-to-play who are now up there. So I will start making more videos this year on it. But with 40 plus being something that's actually only a little over a year old in the game itself, only people now are starting to get to it that didn't spend a lot of money. So, but yeah, you'll have a lot of 40 plus stuff coming out in this year. Thoughts about hitting OPC and Borg space? Always okay. I understand if people agree to not make it okay because it takes tokens to get there. So I get that argument. But for me personally, OPC is always OPC. You catch me and you take 100K off of me, good job. You got me. That's me though. Y'all can come to that conclusion on your own. But to me, OPC is always OPC. Doesn't matter what it is. Nanoprobes, beetles, swarms. OPC data mining, which at this point, why would you hit OPC data? I mean, I do it because I like to get my 2 to 3 million in a month and then never mine data again until the next month. So I hit OPC to do that. But that's me. So up to y'all. Y'all decide. Any suggestion for the Kelvin crew that doesn't require con? Okay. Why are we making it difficult? I'm assuming you're keeping the con on like an Enterprise. The Kelvin, you can kind of go a few different routes. You can go the Gorkon Harrison route. So Gorkon, current host, and remember that the Kelvin's first round is 2 energy weapons. So that Harrison's not super effective like it would be for other ships. But depending on what you have, you kind of want to use Harrison, or he gets relegated to base defense, which he is amazing in base defense. But for the Kelvin, if you're not using con, you can throw morale on it. I mean, really it comes down to, and I talked about this in one of my last videos, what are you specifically fighting? Crew out for that. Generic loadouts are what gets you killed at the high levels. If you lose with a specified loadout, it's because you didn't get to your target quick enough. But, if you just try to run like max morale, somebody with an anti-fed crew is going to wipe that Kelvin off the map. If you're trying to run with a generic burning crew, that's not specified to what you're hitting, then somebody's going to wipe your auger off the map. So you really have to start focusing in on what you're fighting. So if you're fighting mostly jellyfishes and Enterprises, then load out with Marcus-based crews to kill that. And then you'll find more success. I mean, Marcus Merrick Krell versus Enterprises will always be hella OP because the bonuses to American Krell stack for both those. So if you got 500% and 500%, you're talking about huge damage increases versus those Federation ships. So it's all about what you're fighting. Center it around that, and you'll get much better results. If you're fighting Valdors, Yuki, Marcus, and then load up with another damage booster on the side, so that you can take on those Romulans. Whatever it is you're fighting, focus on that, and you'll have better success than just trying to have an everywhere loadout. That's my experiences with fighting with all these big people. Whew. Let's see. For those asking in the YouTube chat, we're currently on the server 44 Discord with everybody, answering questions, going through all the fun stuff. So if you got something on YouTube, we will get to it towards the end. I don't know why all these people had 4 million questions, but I am trying to get through it. We're already 50 minutes in, and I feel like we've gone through like 30% of the questions. So I'm going to skip a couple.
Rev.
Yeah.
Can I just point out real quick? We're on server 44, but this Discord is not server.
It's Rings Discord. But
yeah,
I don't have that post anywhere. This is mostly, the point being, this is for server 44 people. If you want your server to have me come by and answer questions, then invite me and we'll do it. So will the USS Vengeance ever be to the game? They worked on that like a year ago. Plans changed. Specifically, we have all the IP, so you don't really need to go for the Kelvin universe anymore. And people don't want the Kelvin universe. Like, everybody wants the original series, the Next Generation, even Voyager. Terrible. So because of that, unlikely that you will get the USS Vengeance anytime soon. Next up, in the future, they're going to introduce the Next Generation. Yep. Stay tuned. Best Rialta crew. Doesn't matter because they took away Burnings. Now there is no Best Rialta crew. And if you want to get really crazy, you can load out the Rialta with Marcus Merritt Krell and hit the baby jellyfishes. And if the jellyfish is really weak, you can kill it. So nothing really there. Skip it down. Is this the buggiest game I've ever played and getting worse? I don't know what to tell you, Just Fly. Except that if you're on iOS, leave iOS because iOS is really bad with this game and bugs. Really bad. Unselfish Notebook says, can Rev Do suggest to content creators that have a powwow about moving the game back towards social ethics? Sir, social ethics don't make a lot of money. So while I really appreciate that, the closest you'll get to that are missions with good stories. And the missions in the game, the storylines have gotten better. But will it ever become centric on not being big money ships? Never. That's not how you make money in mobile gaming in 2021. And let's not forget that Scopely is a business and Digit is a game developer controlled by Scopely to make money. So unless you can convince the whales that buying story missions is more profitable or more advantageous to their experience than buying a Tribune, you'll never have it be the main focus of the game. And that's any game, honestly, not just this game. I mean, if you go play Eve Echoes is not a story-centric game. It's literally a pay your $15 a month and go blow people up in nullsec. If you go play Second Galaxy, it's the same thing. The story is there, but it's not the focus because, the game market is trying to make money. So we can, I'm not saying I push for that. I miss the days when I could spend, $60 on the game and that's all I ever spent, but I understand those days are long gone. Even my RTS titles now, I'm buying Civ 6 and then a few months later I'm buying an expansion pack, or I'm buying Hearts of Iron 4 and then I'm buying, we decided to add 8 tanks to the game that we could have put in when we introduced the game, but instead we're going to charge you $10 for it. So that's just the life of gaming. And we can, lament and rip our clothes and cry in the streets over what was, because old style gaming was better. Any insight on the plus minus dynamic range? Revision of the PvP levels. Don't see that change in business, Jeff. They've already changed it once to make it easier for the low levels. So like you notice now the range for like 18 is 2 and 2. And that was made to help you get in the game and prepare for what's coming. When I was level 16, I was getting hit by like 24s. So they did change it a little bit for low levels, but as you level up, it's a free-for-all. And to Scopely's defense on that matter, if you look at most games in this market, none of them even have a PvP bracket. Second Galaxy, Nova, Eve Echoes, none of them have a level bracket or a tier bracket. So a tier 9 player in Eve Echoes can go swipe a tier 4 player in Eve Echoes, and there's nothing they can do about it. So I do agree that gap is annoying, and for a long time I advocated for a 5 and 5. Like if you were 24, then it was down to 19 and 29. But after a year of pushing for that and literally getting nothing, no treadway, none at all, I've given up on it. And y'all can shake your fist at me and be mad that I gave up, but I just decided to focus on other things and trying to get things that they would actually consider in the game, like better transporter pattern officers. So you take the wins that you can get and just live with the losses, I guess. Crispy Cabo, Borg Armadas. Yes, they will come back. Yes, you'll have Borg events coming up. Borg Refinery or the faction refine's worth it. Yes, but they get better as the Vidar levels up. So you get tier 7, tier 8, tier 9. That's when it's better. So it's better to wait for that until the end of the Vidar's life. And then you can actually start getting some really good returns for that. But doing it at like tier 2, tier 3 doesn't make sense. Spend those probes on your Vidar leveled up. In regards to stellar research, which is the better path to take, hull or weaponry? I like weaponry. You can increase the survivability of the ship by getting to 300% hull, and then officers and officer abilities like Kirk Spock with your shield regen. But the better you can hit early on, the quicker you're taking out your opponent. And with hostiles not having any, officer bonuses, it's a lot easier to just get in, get out, kill them, and be done with them. So I always advise going the weaponry route for basically anything. First thing you should upgrade on your ship when it hits a new tier, weapons. Research to focus on, weapons. Almost always weapons. When will the packs be getting bigger? Our server opened up past level 39, and your video about the pack differences, when a server opens up, all the other packs usually almost doubled. That I can't answer for you. I honestly don't know. And for comparison, if anybody is level 39 in this chat, do we have any 39s? Or 38s, the bracket's the same.
I think we got a couple big guys here.
Yeah, if you're 39, I can tell you that, for example, my Ultra Ship Power Pack gives me 61,000 Latinum, 141 Rare Crystal, 500 Uncommon Crystal, and then, 400 million, 600 something million Tritanium. How long before your server gets that same pack? I don't have an answer. But I do know that they increase the packs and the values in the packs as the server ages. The whole point and their logic is they want you to have the same experience that I had when I was leveling up, which I don't agree with, which is why I made a big video and we got into a big tissy about it. They weren't happy. Has a second research builder been considered? Yes. I just answered that question for what it is. What's the best way to deal with the rogues who won't follow any type of row or only care about PD? Honestly, let him have at it. If that's how he wants to play the game, who are you to tell him to not play the game that way? The only thing, because you did say that he's gotten multiple bans. I do strongly disagree with anybody who is breaking terms of service. So if they're making homophobic remarks, sexist remarks, transphobic remarks, anything like that, ban them, get rid of them. And the Scopely does have a process where those little bans eventually turn into a permanent ban. But in terms of them playing like that, let them. If that's how they want to play the game, who are you to tell them not to? Your only recourse is to hit them. So you see them and you know that that's how they are, smack them because they deserve to get what they give. But at the same time, I don't agree with one player telling another player that they can't play that way. If that's how they're going to treat you, then just give it right back to them. And if they find themselves then alienated and they can't make friends and they can't get in an alliance, well, that's the repercussion they have for playing that way. But at the same time, I don't think that player should be removed from a server. I don't think that that's unhealthy. I think that is, in a lot of ways, it can be very healthy for a server to have those rogues, whether it be for unifying ideas for other players, or if it's just the simple fact that you don't want to kill somebody because you've got a friendly hand, Vulcan handprint on their name, and then that rogue is going to come clear a 3-star mining space for you, and then, hey, cool, you got nodes now. So while I don't go around doing that necessarily anymore, I've done it with alliances before in the past. I don't have a problem with those players as long as they obey TOS.
America.
Yeah, America. Yeah. Very different on the European servers, though. Depending on where you're at, cultures, it could be very, very different. Chekhov says, since ship experience can be earned by a ship going out and doing battle, will there ever be a way to officers gain that? No, maybe. I mean, that's logic. You don't find a lot of that in this game, guys. You're expecting a lot if you want logic. Expecting a lot. Why is there no Pavel Chekhov? Is there a possibility we get the TOS Pavel Chekhov? So the reason you don't have the Kelvin Pavel Chekhov is because the actor passed away. His family does not want his likeness being used, and that's their decision. Definitely respect that, and it's very sad that that actor passed. As far as Walter Koenig, they would have to go to him and him agree to that. Will we get him? Maybe. stay tuned, but that's why you don't have the original Chekhov. That's why we have Arkady. Arkady is Chekhov. If you read the description of Arkady, he is a Russian officer and he plays the same role, but that's why you've got Arkady Ivanov instead of Pavel Chekhov. Yeah, and if you read his description, it is basically Pavel Chekhov with the name changed.
So thanks for saying that, because I always suspected as much.
Yeah, and it's if the family doesn't want that, I 100% get that, and I'm glad they respect those wishes instead of like going to CBS and crying about it and finding a way around it. So no argument here for me. Would a mechanism for survey ships getting XP from mining be viable? 100% yes, and we've been pressing on that issue more and more lately. I think that is a fantastic idea, and it is something that we've passed on to the mods the devs, and they are considering. It's on like their sticky notes. Will it turn into something soon? Who knows? But they did think that it was a good idea. Ooh, Doom opens it up strong. Says, stupid question, but will Scopely ever acknowledge or even better fix issues in the game? Yes, they acknowledge them all the time. But whether or not support's acknowledging you or their game devs are acknowledging you are usually two completely different things. And this is not me crapping on support, but the devs a lot of times are actually working on something that support doesn't really relay that to you. The customer support experience varies from user to user. Some people have had really good ones. I've had great ones at times, and other times I've had terrible ones. I've had times where they didn't respond to me for 3 weeks, which is completely unacceptable. At the same time, the problem isn't Scopely. It's working through those companies that they use for the customer support and everything, and getting those individuals better on pace with what the game is like and experiencing and all the problems. So, yeah. When I go directly to them, sometimes it's the first time they're hearing about it. Like the whole everybody getting the purple squares in territory capture. When I came to them a month ago with that, it's one of the first times they were hearing about it. And the first thing they asked was, can you please find ways to replicate this so we can find ways to fix it on those devices? So we did that process, and now we wait to see how long it takes them to fix it. But it's all about getting the information to them. And that's one of the reasons that the content creators are so important. Not just me, but Ultimate DJ, No One Shall, even L-Cars with Fartasia in them, even though they don't necessarily do a ton of that, they still have the same access to, talk to live ops and report these problems. That's why it's important, because honestly, customer support doesn't always get that through. Customer support also has to deal with thousands of you annoying people bugging them every day. So sometimes it just matters that it gets through. Let's see, Carthen with a 3-parter because they want to be difficult. Shout out Carthen. When are we going to see the implementation of the rare Armada tactical cores? No clue. Should have had that already, in my opinion. Are there any plans to add higher level Armadas? Yes, eventually. TBD. And could we please start getting 4-star faction ship BPs in the Alliance store? The Alliance store. Are you talking about in the Armada drops? I'm assuming you're meaning Armada drops, because Armadas don't change after level 39, which is also really stupid. 100% agree with you there as well. If it makes you feel any better, us old servers are still struggling with that. Like, we still have to have the same crappy crap we had forever ago, and it's not improved for us either. So, yeah, no arguments here. I definitely support your desire for things to be better than they currently are. When will the black market become a priority? That's not like I can know about what's coming, but I can't tell you when they're going to make something a priority. But you know how to make something a priority for them? Get hundreds of people to complain at one time, thousands if need be, and especially if you can get your friends in the whale community to complain. The more they complain, let's just be honest, the more you get heard. That's a much bigger voice than you. So that's somebody with a megaphone. Get the megaphone asking. Will this be recorded? It's being recorded right now, Chi. And if you're not here, well, you'll catch it on the flip-flop. Also, shout out to everybody who stayed through the chat through the first hour. Y'all are amazing. I really thought we'd fly through this, but y'all have way too many questions. We are getting towards the end of the questions, though, so we can get to the live ones. It's almost impossible to get shards for Giorgio, Lorca, and now TOS Kirk. Does Scopely have a plan to at least make it a little easier to get shards? Yes. The whole thing with epics, though, is they stretch those epics out for multiple reasons. And you will eventually get the opportunity to grind those out as a free-to-play player. Just like I can now get 5 of 10. Whereas, for a long time, 5 of 10 was not available in terms of in the packs. Now she is. Next question.
Rev, what about Harrington shards?
Is there anything about trying to get more of those?
Yep.
Yeah, agreed on that.
Yeah, that's something that we put. First of all, y'all can slow your roll because Harrison was released one time and it wasn't re-released for almost 2 years. So y'all can just shut up and enjoy the fact that he even comes around once every blue moon. But yes, one of the big pushes we had was to add him to transporter patterns. And we'll see if that actually comes to pass. But the fact that you're getting a Harrison auction and then maybe a Harrison pack every 2 months, I'll count y'all shiny stars because he was released and then pulled and not re-released for almost 2 years. So,
all right. Well, I got him in the auction yesterday.
congratulations.
So
that's a hell of an officer to have.
Yeah, I will count my lucky stars. Now I can do the full boost pattern.
Yeah, I've got 2.5 years in the game and I don't have Harrison on my main account. I should have bought him when he was $100 pack. I know everybody's like gasping, like, how dare you spend $100? He is legitimately that good. I mean, to give you an example how good he is, let's say 25 million Newton came to my base. Without Harrison, it's going to one-shot me with my auger, with my 5 docks, with my enterprise. If I've got Harrison, I'm going to beat the Newton. All because of that one officer. So he's incredibly powerful. How can we get Leslie? The only current way is when that pack rolls around and you spend $20. That's the only current way. And Leslie's really only super useful for certain situations. Still very good. You can solo Armadas due to Leslie's ability with using like Kirk, Spock, Leslie. You can do some high-level kills and bosses that you normally couldn't do. Very valuable for some of the whales that don't want to have like thousands of dollars extra into a ship. They just use this technique instead. So financially, it makes sense to buy it. But at the moment, Leslie is like a paywalled officer. Thankfully, we're not talking about like a paywall PvP officer. It's just a regular officer. So Rex says this game has gotten to the point where there are so many currencies. Yeah. What order would you recommend we focus on? So number 1 is do your dailies. Number 2 would then be to do Borg. That's the second most important one to me. And then after that would be swarms. But I'll be honest, the best way I have found to do it is instead of doing them every day, and I talked about this on another episode, setting aside days for certain things. Like, for example, we know Swarm Sunday is a thing. Swarm Sunday. That's when you do swarms. And do enough to where you can refine throughout the week. And if you need to add another day, Wednesday, do that. Borg, do enough to do your Borg every single day. So, if you follow my channel, you know that if you're using like 7 of 10, 5 of 10, and 9 of 10, if you have them on a tier 7 Vidar, you can max out that Vidar against 29s twice. And that's enough for you to pull for 3.5, 4 days. So different techniques you can use to make that happen. It's more about taking specific days and going, look, I'm not going to worry about all the other crap. I'm just going to do this today. This is what I'm focused on. Data. I said it before. I mine data typically like 2 days out of the month and hit OPC data. That's how I get my 2 million data I need to do my monthly. So I don't have to mine it all day and make it into a thing. So finding ways to ease the game for you is the best way to do it than to try to do all of them every day, because honestly, you're just going to burn yourself out. So don't do that. No update on the photon tokens, Fizzy. You'll see a video when it is. I almost regret to this day making that video because I get asked by multiple people every day when are photon tokens coming. Like, I found it, guys. I didn't make it. I can't make it come out any sooner. I just happened to find it, which is cool. At the same time, I can't make Scopely work any faster. Remember that when they make something, it takes them 6 to 8 months to get something out. So, me finding that on a new server didn't mean that they were going to put it out the next month. I don't know why it takes them so long, but it just does. Who do you think is the most versatile officer to get and why? Anyone that I need to remortgage my house for. Well, if you're going to remortgage your house, donate to Rev Deuce because he needs it more than Scopely does. Second of all, there are a few. Kirk Spock as a combo is universally going to be good from level 10 to level 50. Harrison for certain applications is going to be good. Pike, Moreau, Chin is probably the most important set in the game because you spend more time PvE grinding than doing anything else. Those would probably be my main. Con, very important because of the critical growth. Especially when you get to like 4%, really changes the game for you. There's a lot, but those probably be the main ones. 5 of 10, very, very good. 5 of 10 is even more important when you get to the point where you're starting to do rep grinding because 5 of 10's secondary ability works with rep grinding. So if you got a 60% bonus and you got 1,000 rep, you got 60% on top of that 1,000. So you can do either a 5 of 10 like Kirk Spock ship plus pipe and roach in for grinding, so do 2 ships with it, or you can even go and straight up just run 5 of 10 the entire way. Whatever you want to do. She's great for rep grinding, so an officer that I definitely love. But then you get in everything else to specialize. Like Giorgio, as much as I love her, that's a specialty thing for getting burning going, and that's really good for, Armadas and stuff like that. Not necessarily great for everyday usage. So we'll just keep flying through. Can I claim pack purchases as investments in virtual currency on your taxes? I am not a CPA, so I'm not going to give you advice, but I'm going to tell you no. Hoth, can you ask the dev team if they can improve the refinery drop rate? Holy crap. We went 45 minutes without another refinery question. That's awesome. Y'all aren't as excited about that as I was. Moving on. How important?
That's a Rev Deuce.
That was a win.
Yeah. How important do you feel Armadas are for player growth in the game? Mixed. If you can get in them, it's great. It can really help you, especially in the 30s, save you a ton of faction credits on grinding for the Enterprise and stuff, because, Enterprise Augur D4, 180,000 credits. Is it super important? No, because honestly, you can't rely on Armadas alone to really get you anywhere. But if you've got an alliance that regularly does Armadas, you will notice how much it is. Now, it's required for the Stella. Like, you can't do the Stella without the Eclipse Armadas. Now, that's kind of like a very specific thing. But as a whole, Armadas are really only kind of a casual thing. If your alliance does them, awesome. You definitely want to promote the doing of the Armadas because they do add up, but they're not a mechanic that you can just rely on to get anything. Like, can I guarantee that at 28 you're going to get a full pull on a Saladin? Nope. Has it happened? Hundreds of times. Is it likely? Not at all. So, you take it as an extra. Like the uncommons you get, the officer XP you get is a great bonus. It's not something you necessarily rely on as a mechanic. Do them as you can. When you're doing Stella, I really recommend that alliances pick like 2 or 3 days of the week where they focus on that so that everybody can do theirs at one time, while at the same time, not everybody is having to do, because I talked about setting things aside for a day. Stella is something that you really need to set your alliance aside for a day. Everybody goes out, says, hey, these 3 hours, I'm launching, you're launching, we launch. We all take benefit of doing it together, because the other option is doing them solo. And while you can technically get more credits by soloing Eclipse Armadas, I think it's better for the foundation of your alliance to do it in groups. So, any chance the Shakedown crew becomes available again? Yep. And do you only do the 1750 pools? Yep. Mainly because 1, I don't mine all day, and 2, it gives the most guaranteed chance of actually getting uncommon, even though the number of uncommon I'm going to get is lower. The best pools that we found by doing months and months of experiments was the 12K. It's the most consistent / getting the best amount. The 12K is the best way to go. I just don't want to mine that much because, well, I'm that annoying person that they were complaining about that likes to hit ships. So I don't spend my day mining. I spend my day poking at people and then laughing when they send me love letters. So I guess I'm a terrible person. But yeah.
Hey, Rev.
Yeah.
So I had a refinery question kind of on those lines. With the probability, does it spread across all 3? Every button you hit for crystal, gas, or is it individual to each?
It's individual, kind of, sort of. Yeah, well, it is individual. But for example, the biggest pull at 75K has the best chance of giving you the most uncommon. It's got the lowest chance of giving it to you, though, if that makes sense. So, like, if you look on the 1750 pull, an average pull for me when I get uncommon is like 7 to 12. If I go up to the 12K, I can start getting 30. If I give up to the 75K, believe it or not, I've seen 60 to 100 appear. But how often is that actually going to happen? Whereas at the 1750 and the 12K, it's a lot easier to predict what's going to happen. And there's a lot more RNG involved in the big one. So when you pull that 75K and you end up with 133 common crystal, you're going to get really pissed off. But if that happens when you do a 12K, no big deal. I found the best method is do the 1750 or the 12K a day, and then you save up massive amounts for when the bonus refineries come, because those are guaranteed. And then you do the maximum bonus refineries that you can. And if you know the bonus refinery is coming and you catch it right when it launches, you can usually get an extra bonus refinery pull for the bonus refinery period because of the cooldown timer. So that's the best method to guarantee what you're getting. Then you can also spend $100 on the prime or prime gas, prime crystal.
Yeah, I agree. I've just noticed, because I always hit it left to right, crystal, gas, or
oh, that's what you meant.
Yeah, if I do that, twice a day, usually on the third, because right now I'm after ore, so on around the third time, I'll start right to left. So I'll hit my ore first, and I've been pretty consistent.
So I've tried to do some to figure that out, and I was never able to find a correlation. If you can do, and this is how we did it. So when we tracked the Armada, well, not the Armada pools, we've done that too. When we tracked mining and refinery pools, we did a spreadsheet where we tracked every single one every day for 30 days. And then we changed the method and tried it again. Now, the only variables that you can't control are the fact that Scopely in the background continually manipulates the refinery rates. You don't know when they do it, but you will notice it because every now and then you'll do a 1750 pool and get like 30 uncommon and go, this is impossible. Well, that's because they did a manipulation, and for whatever reason, this week they're deciding that the refinery is better before they knock it back down. So besides those random anomalies, if you do the 30-day method and then track and compare, or if you do 30-day at the same time and you get somebody else to do it with you, then you can try to look for those. We were never able to find a consistent pattern. It's really RNG random. But if you can find something and they made a change, I'd love to see that spreadsheet. But it's just, do you want to take the time of tracking that twice a day for 30 straight days and adding people with different methods to see if there's any change?
Sounds good. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah. You wouldn't think a game needs that much work, but welcome. It does.
I just, who has that job just sitting there manipulating those numbers all day? What a troll.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to lie. It makes me giggle sometimes. Like, if I had that amount of power, like, I'm going to make them happy today. And then I'm going to break their hearts. Like, I'd do it. Because usually by the time people figure it out is about the time that they stop. So, like, if you were going to do the 75K, then you're getting 100 comet again. So, yeah, fun times. What's the point of having Parsteel Trit and Dill generators? Right now, there is none. Just upgrade them when it requires, but there truly is not a purpose at the moment. Any good kid bedtime stories? Itsy Bitsy Spider is always my favorite. Any chance Scopely is going to make a second research available? Yes, possibly. Any chance of them making the Separatist D3 available? Fun story for all you new folks in the game. The Separatist D3 was an event-only ship back in like January or February of 2019 and has not come back since. It was the first time they ran the Separatist event. And a few people got it, but overall it's basically like the white whale. So if you actually see one in game, that's probably a dev account and they're trolling you. I don't know if they'll ever bring it back. I'd still love it, but hell, I don't even have it. And I've got two D3s. I've got the OG one and the hijacked, but I missed out on the Separatist one and it's yet to come back. Will we ever get another chance of to get the TOS mining officers? Yes. Will we ever get the Real to burn back? No. Are there any plans for server merge? No. Will they ever be able to raid for more than just Par, Trill, and Dill? No. Keep getting locked up in battles in Borg space. Considering how long it takes to grind out the Vidar, it drives me insane. The system could be empty and I still get locked up. That sounds more like a specific issue to your device. Try clearing out your cache and localization. I know it's cliche. I know IT guys tell you to turn it on and off again all the time. Truly, it does usually work. Try that. If it doesn't, hit me up again. What do you think about a bridge with 5 officers? 100% against it. Terrible idea. Dumb idea. Sit back, never speak again. Why is it a dumb idea? You think whales are hard to beat now? Give them 5 maxed officers on their ship. Good luck beating them. Ever. At anything. No. Stop. Don't talk ever again, Bad Bear. You're banned. I'm just kidding, but not really. Never talk again. Some people are not going to get my jokes, and it's just okay. Will we be able to move officers from below to above outside the station? No, but you might be able to get crew presets coming soon. Who trims the beard? Just me. Is it normal from your experience for a server to have a nuisance troll player or two that nobody enjoys having around? Every server. Literally every server. Every server. Sometimes it's me, but every server. Finding bases to raid has gotten harder and harder. So many dead bases. That's more of a statement than a question, but yes. Constantine, I'm assuming is one of your big whales, says, should I skip the Enterprise and go for the A? 1,000% no. You can collect the A if you want it, but it is not a good ship. Literally every rare is better than the Enterprise A at 4-star. Newton, Coronar, and Pilum all way better, especially the Pilum. The Pilum will walk miles over the Enterprise A's face. It's so bad. It will eventually win out with pure power because the thing gets stupid strong, gets to 30 million, and it'll just beat you because it's 30 million. But in terms of actually effectiveness, no, don't do that. You'd be very frustrated. If you can afford to get the Enterprise A, I don't want you to spend the money to get to it and then be so mad that you quit the game. I want you to stay in the game, so don't do that to yourself. What was that? I actually see Constantine in the voice chat, so I'm hoping he's not level 50 that I just broke his heart. He's gonna log off now. It's just gone. No more Constantine.
He quit.
Yeah, game over.
Hey, so listen, thank you so much for that. Everything you just said was fan-fucking-tastic. I wanted
language, and you're welcome.
That's and thank you.
Happy to help. All right. I love audience or adjudicator. Adjudicator? Oh, anyway, Eric says you've got $100,000 to spend. More than that, actually. UNAMD, I'm going to save that one. Okay, so here's the thing. I think we've gotten all of those in. At this point, we're going to open the floor. And one at a time, please don't everybody rush to it. But if y'all got individual questions that maybe haven't addressed or we want to get into some fun, jokey stuff or whatever, let's do that. I know Rings has been helping out. So if y'all want to do a... Constantine says, I grind, not pay. Oh, well, if you grind, not pay, then don't worry about it. You're never getting an Enterprise A. So you don't even have to worry about it now. That's not going to happen for you. So now I just saved you the trouble. Grind out the Enterprise and enjoy it. If y'all want to say, maybe in the questions channel, just put up like a hand, I guess. Like, hey, I want to ask a question. That way we don't run over each other. But if anybody wants to say something, y'all start coming in. I'm here for y'all. I love you. And if you want, I'll move into your basement if you pay me enough money. No takers? Okay. Great.
You'd be underwater in my basement.
All right. Looks like Can You is the first one. What you got, Can You?
Yeah. So in regards to the lockout with the battles, I'm running iOS. I'm wondering if that's the issue because everything else, my bandwidth is fine, all that crap.
What's your, you on like an iPhone SE, 8, 9?
Rocking a 12 and I don't know, brand new iPad.
Okay, so iOS is a big issue for them. Now, this is real quick. This is not a make excuse for Scopely. I'm about to actually eviscerate them. But they have had issues with iOS since iOS 12 came out. Now, if you have an iOS device, you just went, holy crap, that was like forever ago. And you would be correct. They have consistently struggled with it. And the reason being is it's how Apple devices handle memory is different than how Android typically handles it. And they really struggle with their code and the memory issues and memory leaks that the game has with iOS. It is something that they're working on. It's typically the older iOS devices that have it the most. But if you're on a newer one that struggles with it, it could be an issue with your individual client and just your server. Because as I said, the servers are all separated and unique. So there's not like this experience on 44 is the same as 20. So it's probably that issue. I would say bug customer support, but I'm sure you've done that 400 times already. And I will just continue to try to relay any updates they have on iOS fixes.
Okay, I appreciate that. With that said, what would you recommend as a iOS replacement in regards to mobile device?
Well, if you do want to go to that route, the easiest would be just if you've got a PC or a Mac, you can install BlueStacks. And if you ask customer support, they will port your account over to an Android account and then just play it on BlueStacks as your PC or something, or get you just a generic, I mean, if you went and picked up like a Samsung S7 or S8, which you can usually get on Facebook Marketplace for like $100 these days, because, they've moved on to like the 21, will run the game just fine. And play it on that. If you just want to get a little cheap device, you can get you a basic Samsung tablet will run it as well. But it's all up to if you want to spend that type of money just to play the game, which honestly I would understand, because another issue I've had with a lot of iPhones is that they turn into like molten bricks within about 30 minutes. They just get I feel like they're going to burn my hand. They get so hot. So, yeah.
Cheers, man. Appreciate it.
No problem. And yeah, old dog, I see you in the YouTube chat. An account can be moved from iOS to Android. You just can't be on both at the same time. So if you do request that, support can help you with that process, and they have before. I cannot guarantee that you help you in like a expedient time. They might get you to you in a day. It might be longer than that. Who's up next? Who wants another question asked? Oh man, the rings chat. We've only got like 60 people left. Everybody left. All right, Maz, what you got? I probably just mispronounced your name, but it's okay.
No, you're good. Hey, I just wanted to appreciate. I just wanted to say how much I appreciate you coming on here. Hopefully these fireside chats kind of keep being a thing. I'd like to see them on YouTube for other servers. But yeah, just once again, on behalf of Renegades and everybody else, I really appreciate you coming up and doing this for us.
See, I prefer one. You're welcome. Happy to. I prefer the name Rings because it makes me think that y'all are the Sonic Hedgehogs of the server, which is a much better name than Renegades. Renegades too.
Don't worry, we all call them Rings.
Yeah, if y'all are the Sonic Hedgehogs, I'm much happier to support you and be on your server. And I'll throw this out. You don't have to, but anybody who does want to throw something to the PayPal, Venmo, because this is what I do for a living, is talk to a bunch of other old losers who love Star Trek. This is my career. Yeah, it's what I decided to go into, y'all. So if you're sad for me and you feel bad, this is my bad life choice, hit up that PayPal or the Venmo. Every little bit helps. Bunch of trees. Talk to me, man. What you got?
Actually, I just wanted to make a comment to you, and more specifically, the fact that like when people ask about what this game is, I refer to Civ a lot of the time. And then for you to drop in Rift too, two of my favorite games over time. So thank you.
Oh yeah, Civilization. I was actually playing Civilization before this. I just started a new map, and I'll probably throw 200 hours into it. Well, not in one, but when I get into Civilization, like I throw hundreds of hours, and then I stop for months, and then I come back and do hundreds of hours again, just because that's how I nerd out. I do it in overloads. But I'm probably going to get on there today, maybe tonight, because I got to make another video for tomorrow morning for both my channels. And then it'll probably be like 1 a.m. I'll be like, yeah, I'm going to play an hour of Civ. Then I won't go to bed till 4. Then I'll have to get up and work again. So I'm excited about it. Let's see. Mike says no voice chat, but how would you suggest someone in the 25 to 30 range decide when to upgrade their ops? It would come down to ship level and research. So if you get all your combat and efficiency researches as high as they can go, and typically you want to take your attack ship and where you're at to a minimum of tier 7. That's what I usually recommend. So if you're at 28, you don't want to upgrade until your Bortus or Saladin or whatever is at tier 7, because that guarantees that if events come around and different daily changes, you're still going to complete them. You don't want to go up in like you got tier 3 ships, because then you start really trailing behind. It's difficult to, compress, and then you just kind of feel really stressed for trying to fight through that stuff. That's me. Does the Enterprise work for level 35 swarms? Yep, it does. It's now it's not as good as a maxed Franklin, but my Enterprise is actually what I use for 35s because one, it's quicker, and I just put Pike Moreau Talon on there. Now keep in mind that I've got a maxed Enterprise, so it's a big 4 point something million out in space. So it's a beefy one. But yeah, it does work just fine. It's not as good as the Franklin, and it is more expensive to repair, but it will get things done in less time. You don't have to repair it as many times. So y'all, if you got one, keep raising your hand. I'll throw in a couple of these that I'm reading. JB says, I just hit 30 and I'm skipping the faction miners. That's your suggestion. And by the way, I will tell you to build those faction miners just a little bit later, especially if you can grind out the parts just by killing hostiles. The faction miners' biggest bonus is the fact that if you are a heavy raider, it is nice to have like a 1.5 or a 2 million haul. But if you're doing a lot of crystal ships, I'd skip them and then build them later, maybe at the 34, 36, or even at the 38, 39 range, instead of doing it at 30, and then just save up those resources. My Sally is 1.2. I'm aiming for the Burrell, and as a free-to-play, debating if the Burrell gives me much more than a Sally. Well, here's the tough one. If you go to the Burrell as a free-to-play, you're really pushing that Enterprise back a long time. I will tell you that the Burrell is a fantastic ship. And PvP, it is phenomenal once tiered. A decent tiered Burrell will kill Enterprises until the Enterprise gets to that tier 5, tier 6, where it starts getting really overpowered with its ship ability. But it'll kill Saladins, it'll kill Gladiuses, it'll kill Bortuses, Hell, it'll kill augers and D4s, baby ones, obviously. The Saladin is a fantastic PvP ship because of its firing pattern and because it has heavy kinetic weapons like most Klingon ships do. So very good PvP ship. But if you do that, remember, you want to really slow down any Enterprise progress that you have because of the uncommon gas. That good? Yeah. Bam. Good. Good. Surprised everybody's more in voice. Y'all, the whole point of voice is so I can hear your beautiful voices. Nobody
We're all
wants to talk.
pushed to talk, so we're just being careful.
I mean, I know, because I asked the push talk so that y'all wouldn't like. The worst thing that can happen is 7 of y'all all try to ask a question at the same time. But definitely want to hear from y'all and see what you got. UAMD, ask away. UAMD, where you at?
Push to talk.
Don't
Yeah,
forget
can
to
you
push
hear
the
me?
button.
Yes,
I'm
now I can
pushing
hear
the
you.
button. Okay. So my question was about the territory capture, which you said you'd get back to. So, which is that on our server, it's very strategized. And so multiple alliances spend a lot of time like organizing and strategizing and supporting each other. And it's just really changed the way that we play the game. And so I just wanted to get your thoughts on that and whether other servers are the same or where you think that's going in the future.
Well, territory is, the experience kind of varies, and it really varies. I'll just put it this way. It varies based on how many whales you have. Let's just say that. And where those whales are located. So I actively play on 3 servers, but I've got 7 active accounts that just kind of randomly log in here and there. And you take, say, server 20, where our alliance is currently ranked, where are we at? We're ranked 9. But at the same time, we're a solid 3 times weaker than the number 1. So it's pretty big. But territory is pretty evenly distributed, where the big top 3 have got their 5, a couple of others have got 5, and you're still able to be in the top 10 and top 15 and have territory and jump from here to there. A lot of the smaller alliances have started to use the tactic like we do, where instead of getting multiple territories, we hop between the 3 in about a 2-week span. So right now we're loading up in one system for one specific type. We're going to drop it and head over to another one and start picking up that particle. Small alliances, we all tend to focus on the particles, whereas the big alliances focus on the abilities because the whales need those a lot more. I mean, if a whale has both the regular and advanced repair reduction, you're talking about them saving up to, depending on the tier of their, 4-star, 50 million trit. And I'm not making that. I mean, people can literally save that much trit or even more because of those researches. So, those territory abilities. The future of territory is going to be a mix of swapping around the particles eventually in terms of where they're at and possibly expanding the actual map. As of now, it's going to say static exactly how it is. And then it goes down to your server's individual culture of how those get passed out. So it's going to vary user to user. In a dream world, I would love it if the whale alliances just had their 5 and they ignored everybody else. That's not going to happen though.
Yeah, on our server, it's not like that. So everyone else spends a lot of time.
Well, see, Aaron just says sounds like pretty much the same as other servers as it relates to TC. Basically, everybody gets a similar experience. I mean, we do look, because the whales are going to focus on both. They're going to try to get all the particles as well as the bonuses. But, in terms of trying to combat that and turn that into, like we can't compete with, holding 5 territories. And to be honest, we can't afford to run 5. It's, my alliance has got several people at my level or higher, but maintaining the cost of 5 territories with multiple 3 and 2 stars is just impossible, really, if you're not spending money. There was one alliance, I don't want to say the server because I don't want to give away the player, but there was a whale who was spending $1,000 a week to maintain his alliance's territories. That's just ridiculous. So
the buffs are very expensive to maintain. Yeah. Like for us to refine that much to maintain the territories is very hard.
Yeah. And I don't like how expensive it is, but at the same time, it even puts it difficult in terms of you choosing which ones to activate. And then even for the whales, most of them are not going to choose to activate all those at one time. I mean, they might like spending money, but not everybody likes spending $1,000 just to activate territory. So setting those margins really high or those goals really high, I do like, because it prevents it from being overwhelmingly powerful. Unless you just want to spend stupid money. At that point, then we can just sit back and laugh through our tears that, haha, you spent all this money on a mobile game, and we just cry about how we got our butts kicked. Eric, what you got for me? Hit that button right there. Tap it with your finger. By the way, hey, John, see you on YouTube. Love you, buddy. All right, Eric decided not to raise his or talk.
Oh,
so.
sorry, my microphone was off.
Oh, there you
When
go.
is the next event store arc? Do you know?
The next event store will be in the last part of this arc. I don't know if TOS is a 3-parter or a 4-parter. The next part of the arc starts Tuesday.
All right, cool. Because I need my Celium. I can't summon anymore.
Well, did you do today's event?
Yeah, but that barely gives me enough to do, what I need to do.
Well, I will say that we've pushed up that we need a higher mycelium threshold besides just keeping 18K cultivated. That's way too low. We'll see if they end up changing that. But that reminds me, I need to go out and kill with my... I got to do that. We'll do that while we're talking. The next one. Let's see. We've got Mary up next. Mary, what you got for us?
Yeah. First of all, thanks again for doing this. You've answered a whole bunch of game questions for me. I just wanted to ask you concerning your career choice as a YouTuber and everything else you do. During the summer, well, I'm a teacher, and during the summers, I get to spend time with elementary school kids playing Minecraft and Roblox. And they're all like way into YouTube, and all of them want to be YouTubers like you. You got any advice for them?
Well, for elementary kids, believe it or not, they can even get in on the game. I would say that it's a little bit more difficult now for kids to really get into it because they've gotten more strict on the COPPA laws, which is basically how the internet sees people who are underage and what you can do with ads and everything. But the main thing I would say for the kids is make it to where it's just about being fun. And when it comes to like their birthdays and Christmas, you can really get started for hella cheap. I mean, if you got a basic computer or laptop at home, you can buy a basic webcam for anywhere from $50 to $150. And then a green screen that I use literally is $35 off Amazon. The lighting is what makes it better, but it's mainly about having fun. There's a lot of support groups out there. The richest YouTuber last year is a child, and he made like 30 million. So
yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, it's doable. I would say though that just keep in mind that it's also extremely saturated. I mean, there is a lot of people out there. So as long as the kids are doing it for fun and it just happens to be something that it grows, then enjoy it. And most YouTubers, it takes years before they're making a good amount. And like FGTV is a really fun YouTuber to watch. He's at like 18.5 million followers, but he's also been doing it for like 11 years now. And he just started doing it by playing Minecraft with his kids and putting up videos, and it slowly evolved. So the main thing is just let them do it for fun, encourage them that it's going to take time, just have fun doing it. And if it grows into something, awesome.
Hey, by the way, just a quick little aside, you can also buy green screen paint that's the right color.
Yeah, I mean, the green screen, all you're doing is telling your software to remove a color. So use green and blue, green usually with lighted and blue usually outdoors, because there's no natural green pigmentation in your body or, basically most clothes that you wear. So when you pull that, you don't run the potential of pulling color from your face. But like I could pick any color. Like I could tell it to pull white, and then like my body would be mostly invisible and you would see random clothes floating in the air. So the green screen is just, it's generic. If you got decent green paint laying around the house, you can use that instead of buying a green screen. If your parents let you paint your wall. Aaron says, oh, we already got that one. Ignore that. Gray skin, what you got? Grayskin, you there? Awkward silence.
Grayskin, when you're unmuted, you have to hold down on the button while unmuted.
For
Had you for a second. There you go.
Okay, for the instant repair,
Mm-hmm.
will they be adding a confirmation in, because I'm constantly clicking it?
Yes, that is something that is coming very soon. I don't have a definite on it, but it's something they've been developing over the past few months, and it will be coming into the game. Just don't have a time to give it to you. It could be this next update. It could be 2 updates from now, but it is something that they are pushing this year. Yeah. Al, your faces as a streamer, I can only imagine the frustration with Scopely ignoring support for BlueStacks or emulators. You have mentioned them wanting to break into PC market before. Why the stigma? It's not just Scopely. No gaming company supports emulators because emulators by nature are unstable. I mean, you're basically setting up a device with the same operating system in a condensed box of, say, a Note 5 or a Samsung 9. By nature, you cannot support a volatile system. You can't guarantee that's going to be stable. So no games are going to support that usually. If there are some that will do it, that's awesome, but that's usually a secondary thing. So it's more of a getting your device, like for say BlueStacks, to emulate something that works well with your computer, because emulators can be wonky based on what type of processor you have and how your memory is allocated and all that other fun stuff. But that's not really much on them, because they already have a hard enough time from a gaming perspective dealing with hundreds of types of actual phones and devices, let alone emulators, which are a pain in the neck. Having a background in IT, I can tell you that I actually hate emulators. Can't stand them. Virtual machines are a pain in the neck. So it's actually one of the reasons I got out of IT, was because how annoying it can be. And monotonous and boring and not fun. For what specs I'm running, Mike, I'll put a background. I'm running in 1920 at 1080, just a standard 1080 for my resolution, 320 DPI. And then for the engine, I usually knock it up to 4 gigs of memory, but at the moment, 2 cores, 2 gigs of memory. Typically don't need a lot. And then if I run it custom, I might do 3 gigs. If my game is laggy, throw a little bit more RAM at it. I've got 32 gigs on my PC, so it's not that big a deal. But for me, it runs smooth on 1080, 320 DPI with only 2 cores and 2 gigs of RAM. Lebowski, I see that hand. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Shut up,
Dude's up
Lebowski.
there too.
Yeah, Doom Dude, you're first. Lebowski can shut it.
All right.
Okay, so I'm a level 24. I actually hit the button to go to 25 when you answer my question.
Mm-hmm.
At what point should I stop upgrading the Voklos and focus on other ships?
Do you have a Franklin?
Yes.
Then you can stop now, because really the only point of the Voklos is to help you carry through dailies and swarms. At 25, you get your Vidar, or if you're using your Kamari at this point, and you get that Franklin continue upgrade, you don't need the Voklos anymore. If you don't have any of those upgraded yet, stick with the Voklos. I'd stop the Voklos. I never take it past about tier 7 every playthrough. So tier 7 is the max I take it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Lebowski, now I guess we'll let you talk.
Oh, hooray, it's my turn. All right. I've actually got a question about how shield stripping works with officers like Yuki.
Yeah.
Yeah, so does that take away like the total ship the total shield health that the ship currently has, or does it take away from like the maximum that you can hold? Because the way that it's represented on the health bar, it looks like chunks of that bar are disappearing.
Correct.
So yeah.
So it actually takes, if you're at 100%, it takes like 10% around. So 10% actually goes away, and that's how much Yuki is stripping. So if you see a battle log where you used Yuki and the shield has a red bar and then a massive black bar, the black bar is how much Yuki completely took away. And the red is the health.
But I guess my question is maybe just to specify, I'm not understanding. So like once she takes that away, if you're on like an Enterprise with shield regen, will the Enterprise build up back past that point,
Yes,
or does
it
that?
will.
Okay, got it.
So shields, this is what actually makes Leslie kind of confusing at times. So Yuki and Leslie essentially work the same way, in reverse, obviously, because you're doing your health with Leslie. But shields, by nature, have nothing to do with whether you live or die. It's just how much damage you actually take to your hull. So the Enterprise will regen itself back to an amount. So Yuki, if you got 100% shield, Yuki's taking 10% of that, and you go below it. Well, the shields get repaired by 20. Well, then now you just went up over the level. So you're going to continue to go back over the top of it with the Enterprise. So how you would see that represented if it was hull. So like if you were doing that with a hull character and you were regenning your hull goes past 100%. Now when the battle ends, it all resets back to 100. And if you went above that mark and lost more than 100, that's why your ship blows up. And that's why Leslie works for one great fight and then you die afterwards. Because Leslie increased your health to say, 300% what it was, but it doesn't matter because you took more than 100% damage. So it goes back to 100. That damage monitor stays, and then you just go boom after the battle ends. Shields work the same way, but it doesn't matter if your shield's at 0 or your shield's at 100. All the shields do is determine how much damage actually touches you. So if Yuki gets regened above, it doesn't have a negative or positive effect. And if she does hit 0, all that does is it determines that you take 100% damage that's not mitigated versus taking 80%, or I'm sorry, taking 20% that wasn't mitigated.
So that sounds to me like Yuki wouldn't exactly be a great captain against, say, a high tier Enterprise.
She's terrible versus Enterprise. You should never use Yuki. She's basically a wasted card because not only will her captain's ability not give you much of a bonus, her secondary ability is her fighting augurs and Romulans.
Right.
So yeah, she's beyond maybe a tier 3 Enterprise. She is not effective at all.
Thank you for that.
Yep. That's what I'm here for. Who else we got? Ooh, Steampunk Pirate King. Something tells me I'm going to like you and everybody's not going to like you. Says, people on our server seem to have a real problem with being a pirate. I don't have the time or ship power to kill what I need, so I check board systems a lot and wait. When I see one that is 45 to 75k OPC, I may swoop in and pop them. Of course, I get hate mail, but it's OPC and I'm a pirate that loves probes and beetles. Does that sound right with you? Yep, completely okay with me. Just be warned. People aren't going to like it, and they're probably going to be mad at you, and they might even hit your ships and base. But for me, keep at it, buddy. Enjoy the pirating ways. Just remember that pirates are universally hated. So that's going to be the name of your game. But that's cool. You can, as long as you're polite to people, don't break terms of service, be nice, be kind. If somebody needs something, like if you find out a player is suffering with real life stuff and they're going through health issues, don't go raid their base. Just be a kind, courteous player. And if people get mad at you, they'll quickly get over it because somebody else will take them off the next day. That's not you. But yeah, hit away.
You also have the potential to get moved to another alliance by your admiral. Just saying.
Yeah, I mean, if your admiral doesn't like it, well, it's kind of, which is fine by me. I specifically go to pirate alliances where we're like, hey, this is how we play. If you get hit, that's how I used to run my alliance on 43. I ended up handing it over just because I don't have time to run the admiralship. But, the alliance was literally everybody is for themselves. If you get people mad at you, cool, you're KOS. Sucks to be you, buddy. And if they come after us, that's whatever. We're pirates. They're probably hitting us anyway. And that's just the nature of the game. And if you choose to play like that, that's fine. There are some repercussions to that. Odds are you'll never get good territories. You'll never get good particles. So you have to think, long term, do I change my strategy at certain times? I see nothing wrong with a pirate saying, hey, I'm going to follow row for the next 6 months of whatever your row is because I need this stuff. And if a player behaves for 6 months, there should be no reason for a good alliance to take them. And if he says, hey, I'm going to go pirate again because I need to do other stuff and I don't have time to sit in mine all day, cool. He leaves, goes and does his thing. And if he comes back 3 months later and says he'll behave, then let him behave. The key is how you treat people, though. That's what I've found. Like, you can be a pirate and people not treat you like a complete, jackwad, as long as you're not a jackwad. They may not like getting hit and they may not like their OPC, but as long as you're a good person and you're courteous, people will live with how you are. And if you decide to not be a pirate for 6 months, they'll be happy with you. That's the key, though. Also, if you do me a favor and go kill every rings you see for the next 3 days, I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
I will gladly do that.
You're welcome. Hey, Maz. How you doing, buddy? What else we got? Anybody got any more questions? I see a couple in YouTube. John,
Unselfish Notebook.
Unselfish Notebook? That's a hell of a name. Oh, yeah, Notebook. What you got?
The name was
The name was what? Well, now I feel like I've been left in suspense. I'm kind of upset. Like, you gonna tell me what it is? What? Anybody else? What else we got? We can wait for Notebook to get that button working again. Anybody else got a question? I did see Leandro in my YouTube channel asked, are they ever going to nerf the Enterprise? The answer is 1000% no, that's not going to happen.
Godfather.
I think I see Notebook's mic working now. Hey, Notebook.
the question was: is there any great Enterprise crews not using Yuki? You'd said that she didn't work, so I was just curious.
Yeah, Marcus Merritt Krell. So Marcus is a shield piercing enhancer, as well as buffing morale, which morale in the background also enhances piercing and your mitigation stats. And then Merritt Krell are anti-Federation officers. So Marcus Merritt Krell, assuming they're not like tier 1s or tier 2s, if they're about tier 3 and up, especially for the rares, which are American Krell being tier 4 and up, you'll go through Enterprises. It won't matter that they still have their shields up because you'll be doing so much damage, you overcome that fact.
No, I was asking about a crew to put on the Enterprise.
Oh, to put on the Enterprise. Well, if you have an Enterprise, then always put Kirk on it. And if you're fighting other Enterprises, then I would recommend something like Kirk, Khan, Marcus. If you're fighting Augurs, then you can actually use Yuki as captain. But if you're fighting a lot of other Enterprises, then do keep your shields up. And then also will run Gorkon Khan Kirk, which is a really good PvP for the Enterprise. Get the hull breach going, which gives you a huge damage boost. The biggest drawback to the Enterprise is this attack power actually sucks. A really bad attack compared to some of the other ships and what it can do. If you've seen the Augur's obliterator weapon can hit you for 2-3 million in a critical. The Enterprise can't touch that. So if you can find a way to increase its offensive capabilities, like with Khan and Marcus with the hull breach, with Gorkon with the hull breach, it's a good PvP crew. Sweet. Let's see. As High says, is there a bug in Armadas when two people that are running the same officer, only one player officer procs? Yep. Not in the way that you're explaining it, though. The battle log will not show that everybody turns on for like an Ash Tyler, but everybody will turn on. The bug is that sometimes in Armadas that say that 5 people have Spock, but one of y'all who started it is a 100% Spock, then everybody gets a 100% Spock instead of everybody getting the 750 that they might have. That's the issue. But the battle log will not show all 6 people with Ash Tyler turning on, but if you actually do the math on each battle log, you should see Ash Tyler actually giving you the increase for every single ship when burning is active. Savage says, with regards to leaderboards, the rating leaderboard, I removed 400 million from base and placed it all in mine, but on leaderboard, I only got credit for 200 million. That is because it's not a 1-to-1 ratio. Par steel is worth like 0.4 points. Tritanium is, I think, 0.6 or 0.7. The dilithium, I think, is 1. Would have to run that again. Easiest way to test that is go load up a Fortunate. If you hit somebody with 10K, because if you hit a ship, it counts as resources rated as well as bases. So if you test that out, you can see what the Trit, Dill, and Steel are worth. But it's because only Dill is worth an exact 1, and everything else is worth a fraction. Why? Beats me. No clue. Maybe they want to show off how valuable dilithium is? I don't know. But it's not all the same.
Hey, Rev, we had Godfather that had his hand raised a little bit about that.
Godfather, talk to me.
I can only assume you mean me.
You're the
There's
only
another
Godfather I see.
There is another one, but it's
He doesn't
obviously
matter.
lesser. It's just the Godfather.
Yeah, he doesn't matter.
Anyway, so my question is, I was actually going to ask. You always say going for the Enterprise. Well, what if you don't want the Enterprise? Like, I personally do enjoy PvP, and I like having a fast ship, so I want to go for the D4.
Do it.
Uh,
What's the question?
What's your thoughts on that?
Do it. Yeah. D4 is a great ship. It's a lot better since they've made some changes with new officers that are in the game. And there was a big attack mechanic change about a year and a half ago that really rebalanced the ships. Because at one point, it was really lopsided. That explorers were all terrible except for the Enterprise. So the game has evened out a good bit, especially as ships get tiered up. Yeah, I think the D4 is completely viable. If you focus on your officers in your research, your D4 will rip through Enterprises. I mean, my tier 9 will fight off tier 9 D4s and stuff, even if they're properly crewed. But, in general, if you have a good Marcus and a good Merritt Krell and that's the route that you focus on, and you get specific in what you're fighting, whether it's augurs, jellyfishes, you could do a lot of damage. So it's also fun to, just fly around really fast and nobody can catch you. If you get in territory capture and you got like 4 Enterprises chasing you, that's hilarious to me. It just makes me giggle.
That's exactly what I do with my D3 right now with Pan, Reva, Navi. I just take out all the smaller ships in territory capture and just run from everything bigger.
Completely legitimate strategy and very entertaining for us. Not as entertaining for those people defending the territory, but very entertaining for us. And just to be fair to everybody, if somebody is doing that to you, the appropriate counter is to have like a speed crew Rialta or a speed crew Vidar simply to tie up that ship so that you can catch up to it with the big ship and kill it. That's the proper strategy to counter that. Sorry, Godfather.
You're not supposed to tell them that.
Jeez. I'm just trying to be fair to everybody. Oh, what else we got? What is the power destroyed ratio? So the power destroyed, you increase by the amount of power that the ship has when it leaves the dock. So if you notice your ship is stronger in dock versus out, that is because there are several bonuses and stuff that get applied to your ship while it's there. So the raw strength of the ship between dock versus in space is the amount that gets added to the power destroyed leaderboard. I don't have a specific math for you. That's just what one of the community managers told me like a year and a half ago. And I've never taken the time to actually do the math of what that looks like, because obviously it varies for ship to ship based on how strong they are, the tier they're at, the level they're at. But that's also like if you go and kill my 4 million Enterprise, you're not getting 4 million power destroyed points. You're getting whatever the strength it was raw between open space and dock. Why? I don't know. Just Scopely math. Because why not? Why the heck not? What else we got? I don't see any more hands, but I see random thoughts of questions. Shelly says, we think about skipping ships, but haven't maxed out the Vakos, Kira, or the Kamar, which is fine. Don't worry about that. Are any of those worth maxing? No. Is the North Star sufficient so I can get to the Saladin? Yes. I would also say get the Vidar at 25. And honestly, the Stella at 28. But yeah, it's in terms of the common ships, you could skip all those if you got a max North Star. Your game will get a little bit tough, about level 26, 27, but you'll be fine as long as you picked up a Vidar. I'm definitely not going to say max the Vox. So you lose, saying you owe me $100. Here. I will drop PayPal link, and I expect that payment post haste. Well, we want a max Vidar for upcoming arc. Vague question, so I'll give you a straight answer. Yes, you will. Labal says questions are starting to get lost. Oh no. Are people talking in the discussion channel? Are they asking the discussion channel? Who's got more? Because we still got a couple minutes that we'll devote to this and have at it. Bad Bear wants the scimitar. No, probably not soon.
Looks like Dragon had one.
Yeah, it will eventually probably come, but not anytime soon. It's in Star Trek Online. Star Trek Online's got some gorgeous ships in it, by the way, if anybody's ever pulled it up. I just see Thomas had 2 questions. Yeah, I see Dragon. One second. 2 people asked in the chat. Thomas will know 2 questions. They have 13,000 in uncommon gas and been in 31 for 4 months. Should I skip the Burrell in favor of the Enterprise? And what's your favorite snack for gaming? Yes, if you got 13K gas, I would much rather you put that into an Enterprise than a Burrell. And what's my favorite snack for gaming? Literally any food, because I'm a fatty. So it doesn't honestly matter. I just like food. It could be veggie straws, or we could be having Chick-fil-A fries, or honestly, you could set carrots and ranch down. I'm just going to enjoy it. So I don't discriminate to food. I am a believer in all food. You very much universalist when it comes to food. Maybe not when it comes to, my eternal soul and salvation, but when it comes to food, all are welcome. Dragon, what you got for me?
Sorry if you've answered this in like another video, but just out of curiosity, do you have a favorite faction or just kind of whatever?
In the game or just in Star Trek?
Both.
Favorite faction in Star Trek is the Klingons. Honestly, the Federation is pretty far down my list of favorite factions. I mean, I love the Klingons, the Cardassian Empire. It's even the Vulcan, ethos that they've built. But as far as in game, for the 10s, 20s, and 30s, the Federation, and then for the 40s, the Romulans, in terms of what's best in the game. Klingons don't get a lot of love here. So Klingons are kind of like the halfway. Like, Klingons are never bad, but they're never the best, if that makes sense. Like the Coronar at 46 is a fantastic ship, but the Klingons are just never the best at anything. Yeah, what you got, Can?
So if you're sitting at 28 to catch up on research and everything, do you see any issues with jumping straight to 29 and then just kind of going forward with that before you really make that jump towards 30?
Nope. You'll unlock a couple more researches at 29. Typically, ships are even levels. Research is come in at 20 at the odd levels. There are some variances there. There are a few events, I think, that you be jumping into another bracket on, but a lot of the brackets they've been running are in 10s, so like 20 to 29, 30 to 39, etc. But there are a couple that are based on like 27, 28, and that are very rare 2-level brackets. But other than that, yeah, there's no problem going up.
Perfect. Thank you.
Default says that Von Pitter wants to know if they're going to do an export function for the logs. I would actually love to be able to parse the logs. That is something that another content creator who works with LCARS and also works with a dev team named Ripper, he does a lot of log work, and I think that he's working on something to that degree, but I don't have much information past that. I do agree that the logs are not as, well, they're underwhelming, and that they could do a lot to make it better. Star Trek Online, I think, is a great example of that. Now, when it comes to mobile games versus desktop games, there is a big difference in terms of mobile typically don't like to allow their APKs and everything out in the wild, whereas big games don't care if you're parsing logs from files that are downloaded onto your device. Mobile games are much more tight-knit when it comes to that stuff. Will they ever allow that? I don't know. I would love that, and I will continue advocating for it. I've actually been asking for the ability to do that for 2 years, and maybe at some point we'll get it. Jules wants to know what's on my gaming soundtrack. Well, that honestly varies. I go through moods where I'm into classical and I might want to be listening to, really cliche stuff like Vivaldi. There are times where I want to be listening to early 2000s rap. There are times where, honestly, it just varies, man. I am all over the place, my friend. I really struggle to nail down onto any one thing. I can tell you my favorite cake, red velvet, but I also like carrot cake, and chocolate molten cakes are amazing. So honestly, I can't even nail that down. I just like stuff. What else we got? Anybody else got a hand?
You just like the velvet cake because it hides in your beard, so you can save it for later.
I also like the taste. Yeah, so I just like food. I like food. Will they be continuing the ticket events? Oh, 100% yes. Tickets are in the future. Prepare for tickets. Philip says, which crew loadout can I use to overturn 600k strength for mission hostiles? No con. Leslie. Leslie is captain. Leslie Kirk Spock will do that for you. If you've got Leslie Kirk Spock. Let's see what else. Timestamp for logs. I agree would be handy. Age-old question, Star Trek or Star Wars? Not even a contest. Star Trek. I prefer stories over, lots of re-regurgitated action. I love Star Wars for what it is, but I'll always pick Star Trek because I prefer these stories, especially series-long stories. I know a lot of older Trek is episodic, like The Next Generation, and I do love episodic stuff, but I also like stuff that's long-winded with long stories, like WandaVision or Star Trek, Discovery. So I will choose that over Star Wars. But I like both. Bad Bear says I need to do Spanish streaming. As soon as I learn Spanish, I will jump right on that. So no time soon. Do you think we'll ever get a Klingon arc? We've had one before, and it kind of fell flat. That was the Separatist arc. The Separatist arc is basically a storyline about a Separatist group of Klingons that break away from the Empire and go into civil war. It was not fleshed out very well. It did not go over terribly well, so it's kind of gotten sidetracked, and then all this new stuff coming in. I would love the Klingons to get some love in the game at some point, though. Any chance for a cancel build option? Probably not. I've never even heard that asked for, to be honest. What a way to speed up scrapping. That I'm fully behind. Look, believe it or not, when scrapping came out, you couldn't even get help for it. It was just straight up there. You just waited. Now you at least get helps. So, yeah, I'm down for that. You can say Rev Deuce supports that one. Any other hands? Any other questions? We have, believe it or not, gone over 2 hours. A long time. Lebowski, what you got?
I'm wondering if you would advocate for having multiple repairs going at the same time.
Yep. Actually, not only would I like that, and I did a video about this before Server 44 was even a thing, but I believe that repairs and tear-ups should happen in the dockyard, the shipyard, and not at my docks. So I should be able to put a ship in for repair. And even if I still lose the crew, I should still be able to use the docks. But mainly for tear-ups. I don't think tear-ups should be happening at the dock and tying up my dock for several weeks. That has been passed on many times. We'll see if that ever becomes a thing. It's one of the few things that we've asked for over a year that they haven't done. They have generally changed everything that we asked them to change, but it usually takes a while. But we'll wait on that. We're still waiting on that one. I would very much like that to happen.
Yeah, it would be great if they would do that.
Yeah, I agree. That'd be a fantastic upgrade.
Jeff, what you got for us?
Yeah, will you tell Lebowski to give me back my players because I really miss them.
Well, no.
All right.
No.
I miss you guys.
Jeff?
Hey,
mate.
Jeff, we miss you, but we miss you, baby.
I'm going to tell you like this, Jeff. If somebody bigger steals from you, steal back, find a way to offer something better. I will tell you that Rings is pretty boring. Like, they don't do any type of alliance events. They don't do, races around the galaxy. They don't offer things like a member being willing to leave the alliance for a day so that it can be raided and give resources to other people. Find a way to be better than Rings. That's what I'm saying. Just find a way to be better.
I've been trying to get that race going ever since you suggested it, man. That sounded like a great idea.
Yeah. So find a way to be more entertaining. I have found that you can make up for the fact that you don't have as big of players if you are a better community. So find a way to be better than Rings. And if you can do that, you'll get your people back.
We make all of our members get a tattoo. It helps.
Well, that sucks. Sorry, Jeff. I'm sure PLB is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, a lot of us and Renegades and Rings came over from PLB. It is.
Yeah, I got that from Jeff.
We do actually have about 5 of them. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the funnest alliance below level, like 30 players. And
let's move on from the politics, though.
This man just said funnest. Oh my gosh. Y'all heard him say funnest, right? I wasn't the only one that heard that? Cool. All right.
Most funnest.
Most funnest. Oh gosh. Cousin Ike says, what is your position on this strategy for territory capture? Someone joined an alliance during their defense. He moved his base and switched alliance. I am not a big fan of that. I understand being allied and helping out your allies. I'm not a fan of big players moving alliances to then help other alliances capture territory and then going back home. That's a personal thing. They are looking into possibly changing how the timers work on jumping alliances because of that. But not everybody's in agreement. Not everybody has a problem with it on different servers. So I don't know if that'll actually change. For me, I think that's a really weak way in and out to win territories. I think if you're going to win it, you should win it on your own backs. And if you have somebody help you kill ships, that's fine. But you shouldn't recruit big people to make sure that you're getting the most points. Like this, I don't think that you should be renting sarcophagus, so to speak. I don't agree with that. But that's me. I can't control how y'all play. And the server shut down. Great. Awesome. This has actually happened on a different way. He was a spy and switched. Oh, see, now that, I have no problem with spies. I know that they bug the mess out of all y'all, but I love that. I think that adds such a layer to the game that's so authentic. I love spies and stuff. Love it. I love it when you got backstabbed for somebody that you thought was your best friend for 3 months, and he was sitting there launching, armadas, and y'all were buddy. Yeah, I love that. That's fantastic. But keep in mind that I like playing games like Civilization and Total War and Hearts of Iron, and so I think that really adds to the.
Definitely a very diplomacy level move.
I mean, there's no diplomacy that. You got a spy in my alliance? Diplomacy's over. You're KOS.
Diplomacy like the board game.
Yeah, I mean, if you get caught, I'm KOSing you. But I still love the fact that you did it, So, you're just asking Revdu's opinions now. I have no power.
I wasn't lying about this strategizing.
Yeah, I mean, and this is common. It's on most servers. I mean, very few servers don't have this level of intrigue, which is what honestly keeps the game and the servers entertaining. I mean, if it was just bland, same stuff every day and no drama, you wouldn't enjoy it as much. So it annoys you, but you want it.
I was going to ask you, in your experience of being on different servers, what your overall take is on our activity and our level of gameplay and our community is compared to others.
I think that y'all are healthy, vibrant. The fact that y'all have got server politics but can still come to Ring server and have these type of events shows that y'all don't have a very toxic server. Now, y'all might feel like it's toxic at times, but the evidence from how it gets expressed outward shows that it seems pretty healthy, and that, overall, you might have different play styles, but for the most part, you get along. So I would say it's one of the better ones. There are some servers that are very toxic and just not fun to be around, but I don't get that vibe from this one.
Having to live with this group of people right here, I completely concur. I feel this is actually a very fun server.
Good. That's how it should feel. Now go kill rings.
Hey, he is a Rings player, so that
drop tags, join PLB, kill rings.
We told him from there to begin with.
I think Revdu's got an idea here. Yeah,
join it or next door.
Oh man. Let's move on to the next question before everybody leaves. Nobody's donating to my PayPal tonight. Honky Conk wants to know, question on burning, is it 1% hull damage per round active or 1% total hull or the current hull? It is the current hull. So it is 1% of what the current hull is, which is why it takes, like if you were going to hit with Realtas, it takes you several hundred to kill it instead of 100 straight times. Like back when Realta burn was a thing, you couldn't hit a Tribune 100 times and it'd die. So it was 1% of the current hull health. So it still matters though, because that adds up. If you take out, 20% of a hull, even if it's, what would you call that? Reverse cumulative, whatever you want to call that. It still definitely has an impact. But Cousin Ike says, I appreciate Rings for bringing Reduce here, so whoever hits them will make Gorn an enemy for themselves. Wow. I'm not getting into politics. Hit Cousin Ike too. Hit Ike as well. Ferociously. Like, treat Ike like he's Red Velvet Cake and you're Reduce. Just eviscerate Rev Mike and the Gorns. All of them. Kill them all. Max or Mazi? Ismazix? I don't know how to pronounce your name, but thank you for a Venmo donation. Really appreciate it. The goal is for Server 44 to donate $17,000. We're short of that so far, but maybe we'll get there one day. Yeah, trying to get a house, guys. So step it up. If y'all haven't met me before, I joke around a lot, like 99% of the time. So if that personality doesn't really work, don't worry. It's me, not you. It's actually true this time. Not when your high school girl told you that. She was lying. It was totally you. What else we got? Any other questions? Any other hands? Anything at all?
Looks like Eric had a question. His hand was up.
Eric, ask away.
Yeah, do you know when we're gonna get Sark BPs again?
Cosmic Cleanup. They have added the sarcophagus to the Cosmic Cleanup event. So that mini event store that runs around every time you have Cosmic Cleanup will now have the sarcophagus in it. Granted, you're getting like 4 BPs at a time, but you're getting them. So, and then the event store should have them as well, but that's going to be the main like generic how to get them is through Cosmic Cleanup. Oh, wow. Jeff, with a very lucrative offer of everybody who joins PLB, he donates $1. So one, you're not donating to them, so I'm not sure they'd care. And two, why $1, bro? You how many spots you have in your alliance? Like 20? Come on, can't do more than $1.
It is capped.
What's with the cheapness here? Like, come on, what's with this? Well, yeah, I mean, if I get you 10 members, I should get $100. Like, not $10. Come on, incentivize me to recruit for you. If you pay me enough, I'll make you a whole recruitment video. Fancy graphics, get rec mates playing in the background. Yeah, come on, step your game up. What's up with this cheapness? Oh, in euro? Oh, well, the euro is worth a little bit more. So, yeah, maybe. Anyway, what other questions did we got before? Cousin says, I find the sarcophagus useless. It's good for one thing. Now, if you're big into territories, you're going to love that sarcophagus. If you're not into territories, there's literally no point in getting it. Eat Sand wants to know if there will ever be Borg dailies. Maybe there kind of is a Borg daily without being a Borg daily, and that's the refinery for the Borg. I don't know if there's any plans to actually add a Borg daily in there, but I treat the Borg as a daily because it is something that you should turn in every single day. Let's see. Matthew says, just woke up to see your live stream. Which epic officers do I increase to max and which do I leave? So Matthew, if you've checked out the officer tool that we've created, the spreadsheet that you can use in either Excel or Google Sheets because real human beings no longer use Microsoft Excel. That's like so 1999. We use Google now. But either way, we've got a tool that displays all the officer stats, which ones that we recommend upgrading, how they all work. You can then put them on the ship and see how the bonuses apply and everything. It's a fantastic tool. If you haven't seen it, check it out. And yeah, if you haven't seen it, check it out. Ken says you have a link for that Google tool. I do. Give me just a second and I will post it right here. Let's see. I'm going to invite you to the Discord itself. The Discord is run by Stewie and Lube and some really good people who helped put this together. They're the ones who did most of the number crunching, or I'm sorry, yeah, the number crunching for making a spreadsheet, whatever that actually looks like. I just do the here are the officers and I do that stuff. Business Jeff wants to know my Venmo. Oh, bro, Jeff, you're talking my language. You can get me to do anything for money. You don't even know. I'm a bad boy for money. Who's got real questions about the game though? And if you want help with the officer tool, I can go over some briefness. Thank you, Default, with the plug there, right on the ball. Who else got questions? Do you justify Sark as effective enough to justify a tier cap based on your ops level? If you're heavy in territories, if you're a top alliance going after 5 territories, yes, the sarcophagus is worth it. Because once you get that thing on a node, even a rare epic 4-star, both of them, a rare epic, like it's even a new color, it's fuchsia, it's going to struggle to take that sarcophagus off of it because its percentage is nutso. But if you are not big in it, no, I don't tell people to spend money on the game. So if you are very heavy into that, it will be beneficial. If you are not heavy into it, then don't stress about getting a big one. What civilization do you prefer? 6. The main reason I prefer Civilization 6, I really loved 4 and 5. The main thing I like about 6 is because 6 really spread out how the city construction goes, and it added a very different dynamic. You know, I was used to, like in Civ 4 and everything, that I could honestly keep my research and everything up to the same level as the AI no matter what, even on max setting. And I found that with Civ 6, with how the building strategy can go and the different costs that you have to manage, made it a little bit more complex. Because I'm also one that I like building wonders, and I waste my time building pyramids that have no purpose for me and stuff like that. That I can see myself even at the king level, which is like difficulty 5, falling behind by an entire age. So I love the complexity that the city sprawl added to the game. So I really enjoy that. There are some things I don't like. Like, I hate the fact that in Civ 6, my submarines aren't hidden. Like, why are they in the regular water just full on snorkel up? Those jokers should be hidden like they were in earlier civilizations. But in general, I like Civ 6. I really do like the new iteration. Let's see. Trees wants to know, is my name actually Walter and what do I go by? So my government name is Walter. It's just because I'm named after my father, but I've never gone by that my entire life. I've gone by Deuce because I am the second. Let's see, what other questions do we have? I don't see any more hands put up. Yeah.
Hey, by the way, I am
what
the
is a
third, so I get that.
What was that?
What's a good base cracking crew?
If there are ships, then I like to use Yuki, because the shield strip will work on everything, including the guns. If there are no ships, then the con crew is the best. The con crew drops in efficiency when there's ships involved because they can't get to the guns and really do a lot of damage. But con as captain with like Joaquin and Marla Givers is a phenomenal crew against an empty base, but only if it's empty. Now, I will say I like to raid by, I don't just go out and pick one big target. I go into a system and I scan, and as long as there's at least one target that has a few million, then I crack everything in the system and I drain the entire system while I'm there. So then the con crew actually comes in handy because most people are unshielded and don't have all their ships home because they're playing. But even if I only get one load from them, it pays for me cracking their base. So actually, that's how I raid, is I relocate, crack an entire system, drain the whole system, and then move on. So if I can find a juicy target that has 200 million in resources, I prefer that. But if I have to go raid an entire system for 100 million, that's fine too.
The difference con makes is just bewildering.
Only if the base is empty, though. That's the key. Only if the base is empty.
Is there actually any known like numbers that apply to his buffs? Because I believe it just words it as drastically reduces.
There is. I don't have them handy, but we have enough number monkeys who crunch all that, and there is an actual number. But I don't remember what it is off the top of my head. I'm sorry.
It's all good. I sent you 10 recruits, by the way.
Ooh, thank you. I appreciate that. Let's see what we got next. What civilization victory do I prefer? You like cultural. So funny enough, JB, I like collecting the cultural. Like, I'm really big on building my archaeologist and everything, but I never usually do cultural victory. I'm a domination victory guy. Like, I'm going to conquer you. I will leave open the religion one too, because that could be a fun extra dynamic in the game, especially with some of the expansions where they're adding like vampire cults and all that crazy stuff in. But honestly, I stay away from the scientific one, mainly because I don't like the victory scenarios that no matter what you do to another civilization besides conquering them, they can get and you can't really impede. Like the science victory, even if you've got spies, it's so hard to slow down and stop them launching a rocket to get the space victory and the science victory. I don't like. I usually untick that option. The culture one's fun, but honestly, I like to force the game to fight me to the death. So I guess I'm just really lame in that regard. That's the easy way, honestly. The culture victories and stuff are really difficult. What else do we have? Best base cracking crews with ships. Well, like I said, Yuki as captain is a great go-to. You can put on Marcus because you'd get a bonus to your abilities for Yuki, as well as the secondary ability for Marcus, which is going to increase your mitigation, which is always important to do. You could also just run Yuki, Kirk, Spock to keep your shields up as long as possible so those guns don't completely eviscerate you. It really depends on what officers you have and what levels they're at, because if your Spock is like tier 2, I'm almost never going to recommend Spock for almost anything because he's too low to be very effective. So it really depends on what you got. And as I've told people, y'all can come to me one-on-one. I'm not always responding, directly to you, like as soon as you message, but I do try to get back to everybody and give recommendations based on what you have. So my thoughts on running multiple specialty ships, the BB, Stella, Vidar. Honestly, you can play through the game until the Enterprise. You're using nothing but specialty ships. I mean, you could really do that if you wanted to. Not necessarily the most enjoyable run through, but it's very viable now to rely on those ships for your dailies, and especially since they made the Vidar a very PvP capable ship that you could run through that. Still, having more than one, some of those good to have more than one, some of those not. Like I wouldn't buy an extra Franklin. I've got 2 Vidars, I've got multiple Stellas, and it can be helpful to have that. The Stella is probably the only one that it's like a must to have 2. Because the Stella is really annoying for you to have a Stella that you get up to like tier 6 and then have to scrap it and then redo that whole process. So having a second Stella is a mandatory thing for me. But honestly, none of the others are mandatory have 2. Apollon says, I heard that we were getting skins in the next patch. Is that right? Maybe. Wait and see. But that'd be fun, wouldn't it? Skins. I'll tell you though, they're not going to be custom. You cannot upload a picture of your dog to your ship. I'll tell you that right now. That's not how that's going to work. So I apologize if that's what you wanted. But I still am looking forward to it. I also want to say a quick shout out to all the people who did throw a little love to the PayPal and the Venmo. Y'all are awesome. Just to let you know, anybody that did $20 or more, I haven't made a big post about it yet, but I am trying to buy a house. Anybody that does 20 or more is getting their name on a list, and I'm gonna have a wall in the house that's painted, and every name for who did 20 or more is getting on the wall. So you will have a house in Louisiana that has your name on it. It may mean nothing to you, but it'll mean a lot to me. So thank you. What level do I scrap the second Stella? Tier 5 is really the sweet spot where you get the most return for you. But I would say that when you're at the very beginning of your Stella grind, tier 4 is as high as you can get without rare. So getting it to tier 4 and then doing a quick scrap is also viable. But getting it to 5 and 6 is where you really get the most Stella particles, for your bang for your buck type situation. Anybody any more in the voice? We got any more voices? I miss hearing your voices. And I've also been talking, keep in mind, I've been talking for 2.5 hours and my voice is starting to go out. So
yeah, no, we get you there, and we're still here, and we're still listening.
Well, I appreciate that. I won't save a little bit of voice for tonight's video because I'm gonna do an officer video for tomorrow morning. So anybody got voice questions, just so I'm not rambling?
Yeah, I got one.
Hit me with it.
I'm a 38 right now. Should I push for 40 for better packs or push my Enterprise to tier 6?
Oh, buddy, you should not be going 40 plus if your Enterprise is only tier 6. You can go to 39 just so that you can unlock a particular event, the Psi Parabellum event, which is phenomenal. I get like 15,000 Latinum from it, plus a bunch of 4-star uncommon and everything. But yeah, you need to focus on getting that Enterprise to at least tier 8 before I would venture in, because the Enterprise becomes one of your main PvP ships in 4-star because the research makes it really, really strong. You got Enterprises now that are 5 million strength thanks to the research and everything of 40 plus, and it's so cheap to repair compared to some of the 4-star ships. So yeah, and in terms of its ship ability too, it kind of counts as a 4-star ship. That's how strong it is. So yeah, definitely focus on getting that Enterprise up. Maybe go to 39 just to open up some events for you, but I wouldn't go 40 plus yet.
Yeah, because 39 would be like almost a whole tier of uncommon gas for me.
Yeah, the only advantage to 39 though is you get some new events for you, and you get a lot more Latinum. And then you can also start saving up through those events a lot of 4-star stuff you'll need in the future. Like if you want the ISS Jelly or if you want the Valdor, you get a lot of uncommon gas that you can start saving up from that point. Plus ship parts that you can start working on, which will be a big grind for you and a change, because right now you don't have to deal with ship parts like you do up there, because you go from having just common ship parts in 3-star to 4-star has uncommon ship parts. So you obviously can't Latinum those. So being able to start saving that is really nice if you plan on going 40 plus.
Yeah, I started grinding in the level 40 Federation space, so I've been starting to get Explorer parts.
Nice, nice. Now, those Explorer parts are going to be the unrefined ones. And remember that you can't get uncommon ship parts until level 41. So if you are collecting them now, don't refine them in your refinery. Move them on up to until you get to 41. Just save them and then start doing it. All right, Bad Bear says, what should I scrap at 34? I already have the Max Legionary, D3, Mayflower. Honestly, if you've already got the Legionary, scrap it. And if you don't have any of the others, the D3 is the most efficient in terms of getting the most primes for free. The Mayflower will help the most for if you're going for an ISS jelly. So if you want the primes, D3 best. If you want the jelly, Mayflower best. Go ahead and scrap that Legionary. And then if you want, build you like a tier 1 one just so you still have it and it's still pretty. Because I'm a ship collector. I like to have on hand one of every ship. So even if I scrap something, I'm typically going to go find a way to rebuild it. I mean, I've got wait, do I have 3 Stellas? No, I've got 2. My bad. But I've got multiple hijack ships just sitting here like a tier 1. I've rebuilt a Vocalus that's tier 2. I still have my old school jellyfish, which is really neat. Still got a Tala. I've got multiple Franklins just kind of laying around. So I'm a ship collector, though. James says, is the Auger as useful as the Enterprise? I'm really short on gas. The Auger, yes and no. The Auger is better in Armadas for me. I just love how strong it can get with its gun. But it is slow. It is not as good in PvP because it is slow and you have to really specialize it, whereas the Enterprise is very generic. If you just put Kirk on that thing, it's going to have a good shot against anything because the shields never go down. So in some specialized things, the Auger is better, but overall the Enterprise is the better one. What was the biggest jump in levels for you when you were challenged? And where was the challenge when you Okay, so the challenge has varied. So I've restarted account several times. Back in the day, one of the biggest struggles for me was actually doing a grind from level 16 to 20 and getting the 300 uncommon 2-star I needed for ore, gas, and crystal at level 19 took me like 2 months. Now you get 2-star stuff and they're just handing it out like candy. I mean, you can get to level 20 in a few weeks easy. Back in the day, it was very, very hard to progress. If you go watch my early videos, you'll see me still be in the teens for months. And you'll probably be like, man, this dude is a noob. He didn't know how to play the game. That's just how different it was. You know, and I've restarted multiple times and gotten into the 20s in a very, very short amount of time. So the biggest grinds for me have been 36 to 39 was incredibly expensive and incredibly time consuming. And for early on, 16 to 20. The 20s wasn't that much of a grind for me, but the upper 30s and the upper teens were terrible. Now that is really going to vary based on how your server is, because if your server is letting you get quicker at certain stages, then you won't notice the same grinds that I had. But anything else? What else we got? I'll answer as long as you got them, but then we'll wrap up the stream. Because the stream side of things, I will say the streamers, those who are watching, yes, that is definitely a glitch, by the way. My Enterprise is level 45 and it was displaying 35. Thank you for pointing it out because I just had a mini heart attack. So thank you for pointing that out, because if my Enterprise had gone down 10 levels somehow, I was going to cry. I will say, because the stream has gone 2.5 hours, those who are watching, thank you for watching on YouTube. I greatly appreciate it. If y'all want to help out more of these, if your server wants me to have one of these on your server, invite me to your Discord. All you got to do is invite me. I mean, I'll gladly set up a time to come hang out with y'all. If I did it with server 44, I'll do it with anybody. So y'all just send me an invite on Discord or Facebook and I'll get with you. I'm going to wrap up the YouTube stream. So thank y'all for watching, but I will stay on the server 44 Discord and answer some more questions, and then we'll wrap up that for the night because it is 9:30. But yeah,